All right, it's telling me good morning or good evening, everyone. It is telling me that your platform dropped there. It says having trouble streaming.
Hmm,
I do not know why.
we'll figure it out later.
So we will figure this out for next time. But hopefully, we are connected on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. So let's see how this goes. Let me go ahead and log on so I can make sure we are good to go. And Whitney is currently crashing out with more tech problems. Hopefully, she joins us shortly. And if not, we will continue to talk about Lindsay Clancy here. Okay, it looks like Facebook is working, although it is showing as private. Sure is. Problems. Hopefully, she joins us shortly. But there is another one showing, Derek, that is what I think is the event because it is showing public. So maybe it's working, maybe it's not. We don't know. It's a toss up. But I think we are good everywhere else. So we will get this fixed for sure in the next couple of weeks. Um all right, let me clear this out. Get to our chat. All right, we got some people joining us. Derek, can you see the chat on your side?
I can.
Okay, good. So we will be able to address those. And what I would like to do, hello to everyone. What I would like to do as we're doing this is kind of, if you scroll over a comment, Derek, mine will show a little thing that says show on. And if you comment that pops that allows you to do that and you want to discuss it, select that and we will talk about it so that people can see which comment we're addressing. All right. There we go. And there's Whitney. All right, let's see if she continues to drop out. Are you finally on your laptop?
Now, when it's just y'all two, do y'all have the same issues?
Yes. Well,
Now we
we
do.
have recently. Yes. We have recently. We have not past months, but we have now, and we have been going back and forth with technical support for a couple of weeks now to try to get it solved, and it is not resolved yet. We do not know what the issue is.
Strange.
Yes. All right. So let's talk about all things Lindsay Clancy. I told Derek earlier, Whitney, that you and I had planned to talk about this, that we have been obsessed with this trial. And he was like, oh, somebody's mentioned me, asking me questions about that. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, if you want to hop on the live and talk to us, we can talk about it. So, what I think is really interesting, like for viewers that don't know us, a lot of these viewers that are coming in is probably followers of Derek and not necessarily us. And so, one thing that we take pride in at Murder Creek Media, not that Derek doesn't, okay, for the record, I'm not saying that he doesn't, but one thing that we take pride in is looking at all angles of a case and making our decision on a case based on the evidence. And so, there is a very interesting theory going around in the Lindsay Clancy trial that I have been kind of watching some of the TikTok sleuths, I guess is a good way to put them, going back and theories that they have. And at least one of the theories that I've seen is very, very plausible. And I want to talk about it. So, what do you know, Derek? What do you know about the Lindsay Clancy trial, like from a, broad standpoint?
So, pretty much the basics. I've not had time to really dig into it. I've not been able to like watch the trial throughout the day or anything, uh, which I'm going to start? Because it's obviously very interesting, and a lot of people, like you said, are asking me my opinion on things. But I know the basics as far as Lindsay's background, that she was a labor and delivery nurse in her 30s, 3 children, and then, of course, what happened on the horrible day of the of her children losing their lives, and then pretty much kind of the. I mean, I know what the defense's arguments are, as well as the prosecution arguments. And another thing, you and I talked about it earlier, where this is not a, because I double checked on this. So this is not your normal court criminal trial per se, meaning most trials like this are, they're either going to be found guilty or innocent. And if they're found innocent, then they go free. So Lindsay has already pled guilty. No one, her attorneys, the defense is not arguing that. Prosecution is not arguing against that, obviously. So she's already pled guilty. What this trial is to determine her sentencing, as far as whether she goes to, if she is found guilty, then she goes to prison. If she is found not guilty, then she goes to a mental hospital, mental facility indefinitely. I'm not sure if everyone fully understands that. So, in other words, there is no chance in her going free. She's not going free, no matter what the outcome of this is. I think, like I said, I think some people were mixed up with that. But as far as, like I said, knowing as much as I'd like to know about everything that's going on so far with the trial, I don't.
Well, okay, so you asked me about this earlier, and I said, I've watched the playback of the judge in this case talking about, the instructions to the jury, and it was kinda confusing to me too, right?
Yeah.
But then I also watched her plea prior to the trial, and she pled not guilty.
Hmm.
So it was my understanding that that the jury could return a verdict of not guilty in which she would go free. And so I just like I didn't we had our team meeting prior to this, so I have not had a chance to look it up until now. But it's saying, as far as her plea, Lindsay Clancy entered a plea of not guilty rather than changing it during the trial proceedings, instead conceding the physical acts while contesting legal liability. But her attorney, in his opening statement, says that she, obviously she committed this crime, but that it was because she was legally insane.
Yes.
But let me just throw this out there, and we'll get into talking about her and all of this. Um, Whitney and I are pretty convinced that maybe Lindsay did not do this. Like, I don't know if actually, I do feel strongly enough to say here's what I'll say. I can't say that she did not do this, but what I can say is that if I was a juror in this trial and what I'm about to tell you was presented to me as a juror, I would not be able to vote her guilty beyond a reasonable doubt because I feel like there is reasonable doubt in this case. Whether she is guilty or whether she is not guilty, I don't know, but what I think is that the Commonwealth has yet to prove that she is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Whether I mean, not just for the crime itself, but whether she was guilty because she was not legally, you know, insane, I guess, at the time. Um, Something that you and I talked about too is Whitney and I have talked about this, and Whitney said she told me earlier that she even got into an argument with somebody about this because of this whole topic. I won't say who they are in case they're watching. Okay,
I got into an argument with my husband this morning.
but it was over the topic of postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis. And if anything, if this trial has shown anything, it is that our mental health system in the US is garbage. Absolute garbage.
I
So
100% agree with that.
so there's so much to it for people who are watching who are not familiar with the background. Um, I'm going to be very careful about how I say this because I don't want to I certainly don't want us to get dropped on any platform. But Lindsay Clancy is on trial for the murder of her 3 children in January of 2023. Um, eh, my bad, I just clicked off. Hold on a second.
After you give an overview, Neely, for maybe anybody that doesn't know about the Lindsay Clancy trial going on right now, I do have follow up, like what could actually happen in this case. And Derek, I'm not arguing because like I could be wrong, but like from my research, so due to the fact that she has pled not guilty, theoretically, Lindsay could potentially someday be free, but not in a guilty by reason of lack of criminal responsibility. And that verdict would mean she simply walks out of court, but says under Massachusetts law, if the jury concludes that the Commonwealth failed to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Lindsay was criminally responsible, the verdict is not guilty by reason of lack of criminal responsibility. But Massachusetts law then allows the court to order her hospitalized for up to 40 days for observation and examination. And then the DA or other authorized officials could petition for her civil commitment. So, say, could she eventually be released? Yes, there is no mandatory life sentence attached to one of the potential verdicts, which I think is interesting. But if the court was to determine that she's mentally ill and that releasing her could create a substantial likelihood of serious harm to herself or others, obviously, she could end up in a long-term mental health facility. But then her commitment would just be periodically reviewed. So, like, there is an option to this where, like, you could potentially see Lindsay Clancy free,
Yeah,
but
at some point, absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, if I may not have made that clear, but yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, like you said, Derek, Lindsay Clancy is from Massachusetts. She was a mother and a former labor and delivery nurse. She was accused of unaliving her 3 children through the use of exercise. I don't want to say using exercise bands. And this was in January 24th of 2023 in Duxbury, Massachusetts. What the Commonwealth is alleging is that she and her husband were with their children, that her husband left the home for a period of time to go to CVS to get some Pedialyte, and then he left CVS and went to a restaurant called 3V to pick up food for the family, and when he returned home, he found Lindsay outside in the snow, as having fallen from a second-story window, and he claims that Lindsay told when he asked where the children were, he claims that Lindsay told him that the children were in the basement, and when he went to the basement, he found the children deceased, um, which seems kind of cut and dry. They have pulled security film from this CVS that he went to. They've pulled security film from 3V, and Patrick Clancy is the first person to testify in the trial, and his testimony was very interesting. Um, so before we get into that, is there a time that you know of that Lindsay actually said, "Yes, I did it," outside of I'm talking about at the time of in January 2023? I see this going back and forth all the time on different discussion groups where people are saying, "Lindsay never said that she did it. Patrick said that she did it, but she never agreed to it." But I don't know. I haven't looked at that. Have you guys looked at that?
I haven't. I don't know the answer to that.
So I'm trying to pull it up now. So she has a what is her other suit that's open? Is it her like her civil suit? So there is, yeah. So basically in that document, I have not pulled it up before, but it is alleged that part of that case, there is an account of hers from that evening acknowledging that she did it and going into detail about how she did do it. And so I think that that's where I do go back and forth on this. I feel like there's a level of involvement perhaps with others, right? Like we could blame the doctors. We could say that Patrick was the voice, that was coming through loudly while she was in a medical, medicated psychosis, right? Like I have all these theories, but I think that that's where she implicates herself, right? So because if this is true, her civil case, if there is truly her account of what she did that night to the children, that to me would be like an admissible um, confession of sorts,
The what all I know as far as here's the thing that sidetracks me on whether she actually did it or if it's a possibility he did. The defense, her own attorneys are not arguing in any way, as far as I know, that she didn't do it. They are admitting that she did it. They are on board with that. It's just their argument is she didn't criminally do it. However, they put it as far as her the reason that she did it was her mental issues she was dealing with at the time. Uh, Now I see on social media every day, half the people say that they think he did it, and half the people say that she did it. And admittedly, I don't know enough about it. I've not kept up with it enough at this point to have an opinion whether or not I think she actually did it or him. So I wish I did, but I will soon.
Well, before I get into what I feel is bombshell information, let's talk about the stuff that's not necessarily bombshell information, but has TikTok in a frenzy. Is the fact that Patrick Clancy has remarried. And so, well, first of all, let me say people are very bold in their assumptions, first off, and what they are willing to say about someone online in a social media post. We all know this because people say some crazy stuff about us. But let me just tell you, if you have enough stones to go online and accuse someone of being involved in a murder, I hope you're willing to stand behind that when evidence of the contrary pops up. And especially concerning his new wife. So people are finding it very strange, I guess, that his new wife looks eerily similar to Lindsay. Like you could super transpose their faces on top of each other and they look almost identical. That in itself is weird, but does that tell me, hey, this man committed murder? No, it doesn't. I just think it's weird. Um, but the TikTok sleuths have been at it, okay? Because what they did was they went and found some reviews online of this trip outside of the country where just a couple of weeks, I think it was, after the deaths of his children and, what happened with Lindsay, he goes on this trip. The husband goes on this trip and then he apparently feels good enough to leave a review about this great time that he had on this trip. So I've watched enough episodes of Dateline to know that that ain't a good thing. And that's really what was like, something, my spidey senses are tingling here because that ain't adding up. Okay. So then our TikTok sleuths took it a step further and they went and found a review from his new wife, Rachel Dennis, where she makes a comment she apparently goes on a similar trip, and she leaves a review, and she makes a comment about their tour guide, and she makes, this portion of this comment, I should say, says that we've been on this trip the last 3 years. So what the sleuths believe is that Patrick and Lindsay, or no, Patrick and Rachel were on this same trip together shortly after the family was annihilated, basically. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I saw some information this morning about someone that had pulled an address that was from Patrick's, one of his businesses that he had established, and it was an address of an apartment in New York City. He was later photographed and featured in an article, photographed in this apartment where he lived, and the sleuths are claiming that he signed that lease to that apartment prior to the death of his family. Um, and if that's the case, these are the kind of things that Murder Creek Media, when we're looking at cases, we're like,
Yeah.
this is a
I'm
bunch
not
of
saying it
circumstantial
proves
evidence.
anything, but it, definitely makes us go, hmm.
Yes. Yeah. And that's a good one. It makes you go, I just, several inconsistencies here. One of the first things that we noticed too, Whitney and I have talked about this before. I told you guys that he left the home. What he says, according to his testimony, he left the home. He went to CVS to pick up some Pedialyte. And then he goes to this restaurant, 3V, and then he returns home, and that's when he finds his family. So in the surveillance footage, the TikTok sleuths, that's what I'm calling him from now on, by the way. The TikTok sleuths discover that he is wearing a different pair of shoes and a different hoodie slash shirt from the surveillance footage at CVS versus the surveillance footage at 3V, which is taken, I want to say it's like 15 minutes apart. And so he has changed his clothing between these 2 locations. Have
Have you
you hadn't
confirmed
seen this,
that?
Derek?
No.
Oh,
Have you
yeah, you haven't
confirmed that?
seen
Have you seen it? Like that definitely happened?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up.
That is very strange. And to prove that I still don't know a lot about this, I had no idea that he is already remarried. And I do find that very strange. If this was a completely normal, let's say something happens and wife goes to prison or wife loses her life or something, and it's 3 years later and someone gets remarried, I wouldn't think anything about it. This is obviously nothing like that. And I also wonder what kind of person marries him during this time, knowing they're about to have to go through all this and go through this trial. And I don't know that I know a lot will probably disagree with me. I do find that very odd and
And
strange that
don't they have a
got
new
remarried.
baby? Like, how old is the new
I
child?
keep hearing I keep hearing that, but I didn't go down and confirm any of that,
And,
so I'm not sure.
and I'm not, it's not that, I think that, he should be single for the rest of his life. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't pass judgment on the fact that he has moved on. I think for me, it's when we start looking at the timeline. Like, did you move on before you were, before, your children were slain? I mean, like, that's the big thing for me. I ain't mad at him for moving on. It's a little sketchy that she looks just like Lindsay. But yeah, it's just the timeline for me. It's a problem.
Yeah, I'm definitely placing judgment where I probably shouldn't. I'm just picturing myself if I'm putting myself in his shoes, and if I was going through this, I think getting remarried would be the last thing on my mind at this point. Still, I just again, that's me. I can't see that at all. It sounds very strange. And so, just to clarify, did you say he had already gotten the apartment before the incident, or that's what's being alleged?
That's what's being alleged.
Okay.
So when they looked up this address, from his business filings, to see when, I guess, that he rented the apartment, they're claiming that he rented this apartment prior to his family being annihilated. Um, whether
And
that,
there's
you
some
know,
other
sometimes
layers to that too, Neely. There's business trips, right? So, like, there are documented business trips that Patrick took to. I think that so far the sleuths can place him in the same state as Rachel before the incident occurred, but it's speculation. But he did take a many business trips apparently to her home state.
so I've just found this video on Facebook, but I've paused it here. So this is a screen still of Patrick entering the CVS, and so you can see his boots. These are brown boots that he's wearing, and then he has a quarter zip pullover.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. A few minutes later, he goes into this 3V restaurant, or a few minutes. I think it's about 15 minutes different. He's clearly not wearing brown boots. These are tennis shoes of some type. And the jacket that he has on zips all the way down. It's not a quarter zip, it's a full zip. Let's see if I can. I haven't watched this video through, so hopefully, nothing in it. But it's clear the shoe difference in the surveillance camera footage is very clear to me.
And see, and to me, I'm not as convinced of this just because do we remember a couple years back like the debate about is it a white dress? Is it a blue dress? Is
Oh
it a gold
yeah.
dress? And so I think that, especially with these CCTVs, like the quality is so terrible. It's about as good as my laptop quality, just saying. And so
Do you
um
he unzips the jacket all the way down though?
okay, let me see that. Let me see that real quick.
All right, let me back up. All right, first part you can see. Well, hold on. He's got a quarter zip jacket on. You see where it comes down right here. All right. He goes to 3V. There's the quarter zip at CVS. He's walking to CVS. He gets the Pedialyte. Now he's in 3V, and watch, he unzips his jacket all the way down.
I'd have to watch this, and I will a lot more. But I do have a lot of experience at looking at CCTV, as far as part of evidence and stuff. Just for now, the watching it just a few times, I'm not convinced that the shoes are different. I'm also not 100% convinced that it is a different jacket. It definitely does. I think there is a decent chance it is a different one, but I will have to watch that a lot more. I just know how deceiving. I think it was kind of what Whitney was alluding to as well. The
Neely, do we know
colors and
on the
things in
map?
these.
I'm sorry, Derek. Do we know on the map? So, like the timeline here, I think is like one of the more I don't want to say convincing. Um, it's one of the more. It's where I think things fall apart. The timeline, right? So we know that there's a couple things in dispute of like when did he actually leave the house because there's a work email that's sent from his computer that was at home actually when he was supposed to not be at the house right around the time of those killings. Do we know how far from home to his first stop to that restaurant? You know what I mean? Do we have that timeline?
I don't, only because I haven't dove that far into it. I mean, as far as like a timeline, like we would do on one of our cases, I haven't done that, but I'm sure people have. I don't think, I mean, I definitely think obviously he's on camera. He went to the CVS, he went to the 3V restaurant, but I know there was some testimony about the Apple Watch, about Lindsay's Apple Watch. Lindsay wore an Apple Watch and it was in a drawer in the bedroom. And um there was a lot of testimony as to whether or not something could have been sent from an Apple Watch. So the TikTok detectives feel like when he is making a call to Lindsay at CVS, he's not actually making a call to her, that he's answering on the Apple Watch. So that testimony itself was really confusing. It requires a lot of technical knowledge, I guess. I'd have to go back and watch it. I'm not comfortable enough to talk about the testimony in it right now, as far as like what was discussed. But I think what the defense was trying to point out was that it was possible that somebody else could have had the Apple Watch and that conversation never actually happened. I could be wrong on this. So, there's
That, I
that.
mean, I think that is something that, we could establish from what we heard in court. Like there definitely is like reasonable doubt about who placed that phone call. And again, too, with more information, I think that came out in subsequent days after the Apple Watch, when they start talking about like her heartbeats per minute, right? Like they really start going into this data that like goes back to, again, it's the timeline. Like we keep getting, the window is smaller and smaller of when these acts could have occurred. There's so many layers to this, but the Apple Watch thing, he might not be. I mean, he might be wearing the same shoes at those two places, but I'm sorry, honey, the Apple Watch stuff is a little. You can't fake the data.
Can y'all go into more detail on the Apple? Because I'm not familiar with it. What's the deal with the Apple Watch?
So Lindsay wore an Apple Watch. The Commonwealth is claiming that the data shows, and I could be off a little bit on this, okay? But they're claiming that the data shows that Lindsay was either wearing the Apple Watch or carrying a phone going upstairs versus going down to the basement where the children were. And they're claiming that, all that is occurring during that time. I'm actually gonna have to Google this. I almost wish my friend Shay was here. Shay's been keeping up with this. And I know that Shay would be able to tell me exactly what. So let's say. All right. Health data from the Apple Watch has been used as evidence in Lindsay Clancy murder alongside her iPhone messages history. All right. So Ian Whiffen of Celebrite. I don't know if you remember this name, but I'm pretty sure that Ian Whiffen testified in the Karen Reed trial, also with Celebrite. I'm pretty sure. I'd have to Google it, but his name sounded really familiar. But this company is known for extracting data from iPhones, and he took the stand for the prosecution. And so he said that there were searches found on the phone about drugs and medication, searches like how quickly does Wellbutrin work for depression, and searches like ketamine for blank ideation. I'm trying to be careful here. um, but also on the day itself, there were searches that were made for kids Miralax and CVS Pharmacy. This is something that the TikTok sleuths are also claiming is sus. I don't know how sus it is, but they're claiming it is because Lindsay was an ICU nurse. I mean, a labor and delivery nurse. And her previous searches, I guess, I could be wrong about this, but I believe that it was shown that previous searches included terms like children's Tylenol and children's Miralax, and not kids Tylenol or kids Miralax. That Lindsay, in her capacity, I guess, as a nurse or even like as a mother, if I'm going to Google it, I'm not typing in kids Miralax. I'm typing in children's Miralax. I'm not saying that this is a smoking gun or anything, but I do think it's a little odd. So according to the calls, the witness testified that Lindsay's iPhone was last unlocked at 5:13 p.m. on January 24th, and that the phone received an unanswered phone call from Patrick at 5:33. And then a few minutes later, a 14-second outbound call was made back to Patrick, which may have been performed while the iPhone was locked. This is where the Apple Watch testimony comes in, okay? A second unanswered call was received from Patrick at 6:09 PM. So, The sleuths think that it's actually Patrick that has the Apple Watch during this time. You see where I'm getting at? If he's using the Apple according to them, he's using the Apple Watch to make these calls to establish an alibi, and it's not actually Lindsay making the call. Whether that is true, I don't know. I would have to sit down with this timeline and really parse it out and be like, "Is this possible?" I
Did
don't
they
know.
did they celebrate his phone as well?
I
Or
don't
just
think so.
hers?
I don't think so.
There was actually very little investigation that was done into Patrick, which again, we could jump all over with this. I think for me, it was actually probably a TikTok sleuth that had first said it. And I was like, damn, like you're right. What sort of investigation is it when officers, EMTs, medical personnel roll up on a scene and you've got three unalived children, a woman on the brink of death, and the man who's alive doesn't get questioned or properly investigated from the jump because he wasn't.
No,
Really?
the warrant for her arrest was issued the very next day. I did see that. So, they issued a warrant for her arrest the next day. I'm not sure if they pulled his records, his phone records or whatnot, but here's where it gets really interesting with the Apple Watch data, because the last recorded heart rate on the Apple Watch was 57 beats per minute. It shows that 2 flights of stairs were climbed at 5:03 and 5:33. This is when they're saying that, she went to the basement and then she went back up. Um, and that the Apple Watch stopped recording at 5:23 PM while the phone did the same at 5:38. So almost as like the Apple Watch was put down and then the phone was put down at 5:38.
And
Um
wouldn't you put your phone down first and then maybe take off your Apple Watch if like you're trying not to be tracked or what have you? Like that's a little thing, but something noticeable to me.
Well, I guess my question is, if they think that he is the one that has the Apple Watch, um, it doesn't explain him being at CVS with an Apple Watch or at 3V with an Apple Watch, and then the phone sitting down at 5:38. You get what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
obviously, he doesn't have the phone.
Do we know if the Apple Watch has its own line or if it was it just Bluetooth to the phone? Do we know that information?
I don't know.
We don't know, but I just dug up a verified timeline that actually tells you each timestamp with what was conducted on what technology and what device it came from. So, we start out at 4:02 searching for kids Miralax. So, Neely, you said some of the internet sleuths were like, well, she didn't really ever use the word kids. That might be, could possibly be Patrick. That was determined to come from Lindsay's iPhone, kids Miralax. 4:13, Lindsay's iPhone searched takeout 3V. Immediately after, Apple Maps was used, and this is on Lindsay's iPhone. Apple Maps was used to determine the travel time between the Clancy home and 3V. Now, both the prosecution and the defense have brought this up using two different points, the same data. This is important. So they, one side alleges that Apple Maps was used by Lindsay on her iPhone to determine the travel time between Clancy home and 3V because she wanted to be sure that she had enough time to do what she did. Then I think it was Red that came through and said Lindsay would have conducted that search on her phone because it was well known that she did not like to be left alone with the children for a long time. So she Googles the restaurant they want to get takeout from. And then for like a self-reassurance moment, she's like, well, what's the drive time between that? So at 4:47, Lindsay's iPhone. So, immediately after she checks the distance, we've now about 30 minutes have passed. Her phone picks up the fact that she had did a CVS pharmacy website search, right? and all while this is going on, I just have to say in the back of my head, this is a lot of planning to tend to children who may have been sick or dehydrated. There's Pedialyte, Miralax, right? Maybe they were constipated. I'm not sure. There seems to be a lot of planning to care for children in the immediate future, to also be in the mindset of harming your children. That's just something that stands out to me.
I agree with
But
that.
yes. So at 4:48, this is a minute after she does the CVS search. There is an outgoing call to CVS, and I do want to say that I don't think that they testified, but it is on record that an employee confirmed that Lindsay herself made a call after that search to confirm that they had the kids' Miralax in stock. At 4:53, maybe about 5 minutes later, she texts Patrick, asking him if he would like 3V takeout. Again, this is still coming from her iPhone. 5:06, Patrick asks what she wants. Lindsay responds with Mediterranean Power Bowl, and Patrick chooses risotto. Again, there's a lot of planning for the immediate future between Lindsay and Patrick, while apparently she should be in this psychosis state. That text exchange was between their iPhones, so I believe that was a real conversation that they were having. At 5:10, 4 minutes after this, Lindsay calls 3V and places the order. That does come from her iPhone. 5:15ish, this is 5 minutes after the order was placed, Lindsay texts Patrick, Pedialyte liquid stool softener, again from the iPhone. 5:13 p.m., we have the last recorded unlock of Lindsay's iPhone. So this is immediately after Lindsay, or right within 2 minutes of her sending the shopping list to Patrick. Lindsay's iPhone, that is the last recorded unlocked, and that is from her iPhone forensic data. At 5:23, immediately 10 minutes later, the Apple Watch reportedly stops recording certain activity. And, remind me, because I haven't worn my Apple Watch in a very long time. For the activity to stop, you've got to completely power down that Apple Watch. Am I wrong in saying that? Or you put it on airplane mode?
I don't
I
know.
don't know.
I think it may be. What do they specifically mean at that time? Do they mean they're just not really showing a heart rate, or do they mean it's powered off?
Well, it says stops recording certain activity. I would want to know what that certain activity is, because now we're reading it like
Yeah.
what you brought up. It's not like it powered down. At 5:32, so from 5:23, so that's 9 minutes later, and I do have the map. 5:15 to 5:32 is how long? 12 minutes. Okay. I'm just looking at something. So the travel time from their home to CVS is 12 minutes. If we go back to the timeline of all the cell phone activity, Lindsay's phone was last unlocked at 5:13. At 5:32 is when Patrick enters CVS. So if we want to just say for, funsies, Patrick was at the house when these texts were going back and forth about dinner plans, whatever. If we're saying that Patrick was still in the home, he could, once those devices get shut down, he could have reasonably made it to CVS to be caught on that CCTV. And then this is where it starts getting kind of weird with the devices after he walks into CVS. So that's when he's standing in CVS, Patrick calls Lindsay, and it goes unanswered, right? That's verified on her phone records. Then there is a 14-second outgoing call back to Patrick. That allegedly came from Lindsay's iPhone. And the expert witness that they had testify on this said that, well, that call could have occurred while locked. So I think the prosecution argued, how did Lindsay make a call from her phone if it had not been unlocked, from 10, 15 minutes before? And some expert witness said that she could have called out while it was locked from her phone. And I think that's where people are alleging it could have come from the Apple Watch.
You cannot make a call when your phone's locked. Now, are they saying Are they claiming that, or are they claiming that the call had to come from the watch because the phone was locked?
I think that that's what her prosecution was getting into, and I don't know why we don't have clear data of that. Like, I mean, I'm sure if we have the Apple Watch, like that could absolutely, you
Yeah.
could tell if the call was originated from there, unless it is the same line, right?
I think it's been a while. I mean, I've used Cellbrite hundreds of times. Don't quote me on this, but I believe if it's just Bluetooth, I don't know that you could tell a difference on the call logs. But if it's a different line, then you absolutely can. That will show up different on the phone download. So that may be the holdup. Maybe it is just Bluetooth. If it is just Bluetooth, obviously he didn't have the watch with him. If the phone was definitely at back at the house. But
So the current forensic testimony specifically says that Lindsay's phone was last unlocked at 5:13 p.m. Patrick's 5:33 p.m. call went unanswered, and then the approximately 14-second return call could have been initiated without unlocking the phone. That was testified in court. And I think that is where the prosecution begins to allege. Let's read this comment, but I think that's where the Apple Watch scenario comes into play.
Oh, my bad.
No, you're good. All right.
So the outgoing call occurred at what time?
The outgoing call occurred at it was immediately after Patrick's call. So we've got so he calls Lindsay at 5:33 p.m. It goes unanswered at 5:34 is when the call immediately goes back to Patrick.
And then when are they claiming that the watch was set down or activity stopped? What time?
The timeline that I pulled, sorry. So Lindsay's Apple Watch. So 5:23 p.m. is when the Apple Watch reportedly stops recording certain activity.
So 10 minutes before the outgoing call.
Makes the Apple Watch theory a lot stronger, in my opinion.
Can I interrupt you guys for a second? Because
Please go ahead.
I want to choose violence for a second. I know this is not related to the Lindsay Clancy case, but Derek, who the hell is Brian Kilgore?
Brian Kilgore.
Yeah, Brian made a comment that he can't wait for the Derek meet and greet, and that he stated Derek loves to call out nurses and make false statements against them. So he's loving this conversation. Well, Brian, you may not know
about his wife. She was reporting a child predator.
All right, Brian. Well, let me tell you how it works here at Murder Creek Media. We would love to invite you on for a live conversation. So hop in my DMs and let me know when we can do that so we can address that. And don't come on our videos anymore and bring up some other stuff. We don't support predators here at Murder Creek Media, and we focus on the facts. So if you have something to say, please feel free to hop in the DMs and we will make sure and address that at a later one. Okay. So I'll give you a few minutes to do that. And if you continue to comment like that, I will block you. All right, Derek. So let's keep going. No, Brian, you can talk to me. You can send me a DM and we can talk and we'll bring you on the live. We'll be happy to host you. Okay. So hop in the DMs and we'll take care of that. All right. Sorry. Let's go back to Lindsay Clancy. Okay. So the Apple Watch data is very interesting in itself, but let me talk about something that I'm really not sure if we can show this here or not, because it is blood splatter evidence. Do you know?
The actual, or is this the recreation?
It is. No, this is I don't have the recreation, but this is the actual exhibit from the case file.
It should be fine for YouTube. I don't know about Facebook. TikTok
all right. Well,
would not be, but Facebook is questionable on that. I'm not 100% sure.
Well, let me see if I can find the Okay, reenact. I can't spell tonight. Okay.
I just want to add, in case you're not on the same platform that Miss Melody 5641 is on, Melody has confirmed with us she is able to return a missed call from her iPhone without unlocking it. It's totally possible. I just don't pay attention. So,
All
Okay,
right.
I stand corrected then. I don't know how. I've got to test this. I mean, okay. Unfortunately,
All
I've
right.
been wrong before.
Gosh, it's making me log in. Hold on a second.
I am curious too about the heart rate. I'm gonna guess that that last heart rate reading was probably, maybe it was heart rate data was one of the things that dropped or was stopped recording at 5:23. I think that is when the last heart rate came through.
At 5:23.
I believe so.
So the certain activity they're talking about is the heart rate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm trying to find this. I'm trying to find this, and if it works, okay. Let me move this out of the way real quick. So there is a girl on TikTok who created a reenactment of the crime scene using the crime scene photos that were presented to the jury and the blood splatter. And something so what she is convinced of based on these, and this is I mean, TikTok has been removing this video, but you can still find it on some other stuff on Reddit and whatever. But she goes through each of the blood splatter markings in the crime scene photos, and she uses it's like a cardboard box, and she's got paint here, and she's using these little Bratz dolls that kind of look like Lindsay and Patrick, and there is something that she notices in this blood splatter in these crime scene photos that it cannot be. It's a physical impossibility. Okay.
The internet
So
went wild on this one.
okay. So what you're about to see is not actual blood. It is paint, from this Bratz doll reenactment. But this has me pretty convinced. Okay. This is a reenactment of a photo in the crime scene. This is right by the window. There's a window right here. Okay, where Lindsay went out of this window. So I guess what I would think until I saw the crime scene photos is that maybe this was just like an open window in the bedroom, but it wasn't. It was behind the bed, and then there's a side table right there next to it. And the way the side table is built, I guess you can kind of see right here. There's almost like a riser or an elevated area, and then this portion, the edge of the side table, is off the ground. Does that make sense? So it kind of looks like,
Yeah.
whatever. Okay. So the bed in the crime scene photos, the bed is moved away from the wall so that obviously Lindsay can go out the window. But the side table is moved back. So this creator believed that the side table was moved initially and then staged to be moved back. And the number one thing that really has me pretty convinced of this is the fact that this you see this right here, Derek?
Mm-hmm.
That is blood splatter that this person claims would have been a droplet. So it would not have been side impact splatter. It would have been, if her wrists were injured, that her hand would have been hanging and it would have dropped, right?
Therefore, it was moved back after the blood drop.
Correct. How would Lindsay have been able to move the desk back or the side table back? And why would she?
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Why would she? That's a very good
Right.
point. And I'm no blood splatter expert, but I know I've worked with them, and they know what they're talking about. A good blood splatter expert is, I mean,
Well, I mean,
it's
and I think
impressive.
like the common person can understand something that is in a splatter, not a droplet formation, cannot be made through a three-dimensional solid object,
Yeah.
right? Like, I think that that's why people went so nuts about this because it is like it's like blood forensics 101, right? So
Well, this what I'm showing you on screen is a reenactment, but anybody you can just Google Lindsay Clancy crime scene photos and you'll see articles of photos that were shown in court. And that one of the photos that is shown has the actual photo of the blood splatter underneath the desk right here. And this is what has that person that created the video convinced that this had to be staged because otherwise how would it have gotten there when the force of gravity would there's no way that it could have happened that way. So taking into account all the other things that we talked about with what was going on with Patrick Clancy, the weird stuff about the girlfriend, the apartment, the the calls at CVS. One of the other crime scene photos that I felt was very interesting was there's a CVS bag that has the Pedialyte in it sitting on the counter, and the children's trays that they are eating, that they would have been eating from, are on top of the bag. Like, they were placed on top of the bag. How would that have happened? If he returned home from CVS and he found them as they were, how would that have happened? Does that make sense? I'm gonna find this picture.
It does. Do we know that he immediately realized what happened, or was he like
that's where the
setting stuff
story. I think that
around?
that's where the story first started coming undone. Is I think it was in the early testimony days. Um, I think it was Patrick's recollection that he started immediately doing CPR. I think potentially on the baby. I cannot remember. And so his version of events is there's obviously a lot happening. He is like in complete shock and he is working on the kids, right? So like we know that his DNA um, was the least degraded on the bands, and I know that like the material the bands are made from, like just in nature, it's fingerprints would be hard to keep on there. So like it doesn't. I mean, if he goes in and he like panics, I mean like I hate to even think about it, but like as a mother, like I can see, right? Like you immediately would go for the bands.
Yeah.
But his DNA is on it. I think they actually said all five family members' DNA was on it, so not abnormal. But he talks about the scene of running to the aid of the kids, and he's like, he's running all around the house, but the emergency personnel, I think someone testified or they had read a testimony that when they arrived, he was just sitting on a couch.
Mhm. Yes.
I mean, I don't know. I can't put much into that. I don't think, because I think that would put anyone into complete shock.
Yeah,
And when
absolutely.
people are in shock, they do completely irrational things. It would depend on his background. All right. If I went through that and you caught me like that, that you should have a lot of questions. Um, but what what kind of career does this guy have?
He's in IT, right, Neely?
Okay.
Mhm.
An IT professional. Um, the internet also went wild over the fact that um, there was a phrase. It was, again, in the early days of all this that, every time I saw a post, it referenced, the fact that when they had played the 911 recording of when he called, people started really picking apart. And I think that we all three, like, really like linguistics, you know what I mean? Like, I really pay attention to what people say, but I think that in a situation like this, what people choose to say in the moment, I don't think is actually a good read, right? Like I don't think it's you can get a good read on someone in a moment like this. But people really picked apart the fact that he said she killed the effing kids, is what he said. And so many people said, well, if it were me, I would have never said the effing kids, right? Like,
Nobody can say if it were me, I wouldn't because they've not been through that. I mean, that's I cannot imagine how traumatic that would be to anyone. And I'm not taking up for the husband because from what little I do know, he was a horrible husband. Uh, with the way, I mean, he anyway. When I
yeah.
no sense in getting all that right now, but I no, I couldn't put anything into that because, as you said, it's impossible to read someone during a traumatic event.
Hmm.
When they're under that much duress and stress, it's I think any expert would agree it's impossible. You're not going to be able to read much, especially on word usage and things like that.
Hmm.
I mean, obviously, yeah, there are certain things if they said it'd stand out, but I would not put anything into that myself. No.
Well, and in Patrick's defense, because like I go back and forth on certain points. I think like I have like this overarching feeling about what I feel may have happened, but like I go back and forth on like how much guilt gets put where. And there were people, because I can't remember if I feel like that the judge said that they could not play the 911 recording live. Like I think that like they had requested because like it was like just such a traumatic thing. But there was testimony from the operator and then others who were able to listen to the audio, and there was not one person in disagreement with the fact that they were like, this was one of those like primal, right? Like the yell, the what he was audibly saying, and like, I want to say weeping, he wasn't weeping, like it was like you couldn't fake that. And so that's interesting to me, but I haven't heard it myself. But it was just another interesting point to the fact that, like, I mean, I think it's hard to fake that as a man, right? Like, just interesting.
And I want to be clear, there have absolutely been crimes solved over 911 calls. When a suspect makes the call, you can absolutely make a case off of that. Uh, but again, this is a man sitting there. He does not. It's not like he has sat down and thought out what he's going to say when the EMS arrives. Versus if you just committed a serious crime and you're going to call 911 to, try to play it off, you're going to sit down and think. You're going to like plan out. Okay, what am I going to say? And
Mhm.
that's does that make sense?
No,
That's the difference.
absolutely. I've heard some very questionable 911 calls, and
Mhm.
you usually end up seeing those people sentence later. So, but this is the lunch trays, Neely? Okay.
Yeah, this is the lunch tray. This is the picture I was talking about. So the first thing was that when Patrick testified, I believe he said that there was the reason that he called Lindsay was because they did not have the brand name of the Pedialyte. And so he wanted to see if the generic would work. But you can kind of see in the photo that he ends up getting the brand name Pedialyte. So his testimony doesn't match what the crime scene photos show. And then if he came in and he found everyone that way, then why is the bag underneath these trays?
It's a small detail, but I think it's an important, if you add it to everything else, it's so small, but like I would not discount this as like, hey, that's
Well, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
why I say, like, do I think that Patrick Clancy did this? Maybe, maybe not. Do I think Lindsay did this? Maybe, maybe not. What I know is that from watching the trial and seeing what I'm seeing in the crime scene photos, you can't convince me wholly of either one. There
Yeah.
is certainly reasonable doubt in this case, and it's because of small things like this. Just because we get this all the time where sometimes somebody will be doing something that looks very suspect, but it's actually not suspect. It's just people are just that way. You can't ever gauge how someone is going to react to trauma,
Well, and you
especially if you
also
come
you have to have a baseline because everybody's
Yeah.
different. So you can't look at one interview, you can't look at one sentence from someone and say they're lying, they're telling the truth, whatever. You have to have a baseline because every single person's different. It all
Mhm.
that all comes down to the baseline. Now, again, in the middle of a traumatic event like that, in person, like I said, different on a 911 call when suspect's going to call and try to play it off. But in the moment, EMS, police arrive or whatever, you can't put a lot into word usage and how anyone's acting because again, there's no right way to act in that situation and there's no wrong way. Everybody's going to act differently, and
Mhm.
it's impossible for any of us to say, "Well, I 100% definitely wouldn't have done that in that situation," because we've never been in that situation, thankfully. Um, and that's a lot of people get that wrong. I mean, I see that all the time when someone's grieving or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, look at them like right here." That's not the way it works. Everybody grieves differently. Everybody deals with trauma differently, and
And and Neely, you might be able to comment on this because I think that you probably watched more of the live proceedings than I have. But remove ourselves a couple of years from the situation. I'm paying very close attention to like body language and things that are said now years after, right? And so, Derek, I know like this case is newer to you. It 2 weeks ago, I was not following this at all, and Neely was like, have you been?
Every day I was like, "Hey, I clocked in for jury duty at the Lindsay Clancy
Yeah,
trial.
and
Have you seen it?"
and literally, I like tripped into the rabbit hole, and like I've not come up for air since. But it is interesting to watch them now, years removed, and you could argue it different ways. I think that Lindsay has genuine reactions in court that would lead me to believe like a couple different things. I think that there's genuine remorse for what she did, if she did it. I also think that, I'm also in the group of followers of this that I feel like Lindsay, as this case has gone on, she is getting stronger. And I feel like she is potentially waking up and like seeing the evidence and seeing her own case in front of her. I think that maybe she is potentially having some realizations that perhaps, allegedly, maybe that what she believed happened maybe did not happen that way, because there's like some aha moments on her face and in her body language. And again, as this goes on, today I saw people, they're like, oh my god, she looks more alive today than she has the entire time. Like there's a glow to her. It's her presence, it's her posture. And then going back to Patrick, I have a little bit of issue with the way that he described the kids in the early days of testimony. And
Oh,
I
not
try
just
to give the
that,
benefit
even
of the
at their
doubt.
own memorial service, yeah, calling them, saying that they were wonderful people.
he used that word.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like these were
Yes.
babies. Like these were babies. Like
Now
they weren't your
that's
adult
a huge
children.
red flag. That tells me he's trying to distance them from him, ownership there, and that's very strange, for sure. That's
Yeah,
that's
I'm
absolutely.
gonna
very
have to go
strange.
back and find the footage from the memorial service, and there was another service too that, like, wasn't their funeral, but it was something else in which he spoke publicly about it. And have you look at that. Have you look at, what he put on the GoFundMe, the way that he spoke about
I
Lindsay. So
forgot the GoFundMe.
what was crazy though is that he has this GoFundMe. He's talking about, forgiving Lindsay and, that she was struggling, all this. But he never one time saw her again after the night that he found her in the snow. when she went to the hospital and she's in rehab and all, because I don't know if you know this, Derek, she is completely paralyzed
Yeah.
now after this has happened, right? She's in a wheelchair. He not one time had seen or spoken to her, according to them, right? Until he showed up in court 3 years later.
He never once went and visited her or anything?
Nope.
That's because he should have so many questions.
And there was a lot of money.
How could you just leave that?
There was a lot of money that was raised from that GoFundMe, and I have not verified, fact-checked this myself, but I know I saw an overwhelming amount of comments to the fact that he put up the GoFundMe for Lindsay for legal fees, what have you, maybe to help her parents because she changed her medical power of attorney or whatever, to ease their financial burden. But what I saw from the sleuths is that nobody, taking care of Lindsay, nobody ever saw that money. It was a lot of money that was raised.
Well, and also, if he lists specific things that it was going to go to, it has to go to those things or it's fraud. I've had to explain that to other people lately. You have to be careful with that. But him setting up a GoFundMe and claiming it's for Lindsay and then he never even went and visited her.
It's a little suspicious, that's all I gotta say. There's so many, we could do a 6-hour show on this. I'm telling you, I have so many thoughts in my head. There's so many things with this case.
I did a 5-hour show last night, accidentally.
I was up very late, Derek, and I got a notification that you were live. It was was it 1 o'clock in the morning you went to?
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, is he really live right now? I mean, and I watched for a little bit because
I looked up at one point. I was like, have we been live for 4.5 hours? I said, yeah, I got to go.
Time flies when you're yapping, we get it.
That's when I know I'm talking way too much.
Well, I told Whitney, I always try to support you when you're on live, right? So if I'm not at work or something and I see that you're on live, that's why I come in and I'm like, what did I miss? Because I have no idea because I haven't seen anything, right? And so I'll keep it on and I'm paying attention. Well, I had it on my phone next to my bed, and I was working on one of our cases, right? And so I'm listening or whatever. Next thing I knew, I woke up and I had drifted off or whatever, had my computer in my lap, and then I just wake up and I hear your voice, and I was like, thinking that you were in the room with me or something. But no, it was just you on live. Who knows what time it was?
Yeah, I went live at 8 o'clock, a little after 8, and yeah, at 1 o'clock I was still live, and
I'm looking at my notes, thinking what is the most pressing here? There's just so much of this case. It is
I will say after already now, I'm all into this game because I already have so many questions now. So I'm definitely going to be really, really digging the next week at least on all of this because I'm very curious now about a lot of things.
I'm glad you said that because I wanted people to know. Wing this today. I texted Whitney just a couple of hours before I talked to you and was like, hey, you want to do a live tonight on Lindsay Clancy? And so we haven't really done any prep work for it, which is our bad. I thought that we knew so much about it that it was just going to roll off our tongues, but we've both had a very interesting day. And Whitney was crashing out being on this at the beginning. I do think it's funny too. Whitney, I told everybody at the meeting, I was like, hey, Whitney may show up, she may not. But we'll see. And you see where Ariel, she said another crash out on the horizon. That was at the beginning of our live.
The team knows me well already,
Do we need to set up a GoFundMe for Whitney for a new computer and new internet?
Yes.
What do we need here?
Yeah, we literally do. Yes. Because we don't know what the issue. It only does it with her. I don't have the issue with anyone else. It's only doing it on her iPhone or iPad, and it's working on her laptop.
That's
And see,
strange.
what's weird, and I haven't told you yet, is like I didn't join the call because I crashed out for a little bit, and then I was like, okay, let me put on my big girl pants and mess with this. And so I was actually able from two of my devices. I logged into Riverside, and I was able to record like a full 10-minute session, no interruptions, no nothing. It didn't drop. It's like it just doesn't want us together. Neely, I don't know what's wrong. Like I truly don't know what's going on. So, anyways. I was looking through the comments because again, like there's so much to this and we're not gonna be able to hit on everything, but what did she say earlier? I think it was Melody or Ariel.
So something I do want to point out here is a comment that Melody made earlier about the Commonwealth being so disorganized and doing a very poor job of presenting their case. One of the absolute wildest points in the trial was when Patrick Clancy's mother was being questioned on the stand by the prosecution, and she's asked about her religion basically and being a Catholic. And the prosecutor, she says, she went to church, blah, blah, blah. And so the prosecutor asked her, she said, are you aware that murder is a mortal sin? And the judge immediately, like, she didn't even have a time to get a breath out of her mouth before he said, sidebar. Did I just,
Sidebar.
by the vibe. I love listening to them. But no, the fact that she would what was she thinking? The hair bows are tacky. Let me
That was
as a
horrible. I saw that
mother
picture.
myself, okay? As a mother myself, I can understand trying to tug at the heartstrings of some of the jurors. But here's my deal. If you are a prosecutor and you have to rely on the heartstrings of your jurors to get a conviction, your case isn't strong enough, in my opinion.
Yeah, you suck.
Good point.
And I get to like those little like subliminal things, right? And what can I do to subconsciously like I do get those tactics, but like girlfriend is not being I haven't eaten dinner and my brain is like farting. You know what I mean? Like you're doing it very loudly, okay? Like and it's tacky and it's poor in taste. And I understand. Obviously, the prosecution feels that Lindsay did this, and maybe we get to the end of this, and we prove that to be true. But you also have family members in that courtroom, right? Like it's just so poor in taste. But I
Yeah,
do
the
love
hair
like the
bows is
memes of like the ones where like they blow them up really like because she looks that obnoxious. Like they show like this like 10-foot bow on this like
the hair
lady's head.
bows are way too blatant. Like you're supposed to be subtle in your cues to the jury and all of that. And a good prosecutor or defense attorney, a trial attorney, understands that. And I mean, I've seen it, tons of times, and then I've seen the ones that are not that good at it. And when you're that blatant, like obviously that's like you said. I mean, that's way over the top. And there's
I
not
feel like she's
one
a
person.
cartoon. Like she's not real to me.
Yes, and there's not, and the jury. There's no way that they weren't feeling the same way, that they weren't going, "What is she doing?"
Yeah.
Like it's not like they're that dumb that they're not picking up on that. And
Have you ever seen that meme where the girl, she like leans back in her chair and she just like melts down? That's how I would be as a juror if I sat there and watched the prosecution make a comment and say, "Are you aware that murder is a mortal sin?" Because honestly, I'd be like, "Well, no shit, duh." Uh, and I'm just listen. Emotional manipulation pisses me off to no end. And again, if your case was strong enough, you would not have to be doing that. That should if I was a juror, let me just go ahead and tell you, there's probably a reason I have never been called as a juror because you really have to show me a lot of information to convince me that I'm going to send someone to prison for the rest of their life, or especially like,
yeah,
if it was for the death penalty or something. I mean, you're truly going to have to show me beyond a reasonable doubt. And I'm going to go through every scenario possible. And it doesn't even take someone like me in this case to look at it and be like, maybe you should just give up now. And that's not even taking into consideration the whole discussion about mental health and what
Mhm.
mental health and postpartum psychosis or the potential for postpartum psychosis plays into this case. These are two separate things, right? Looking at the legality of it and then the moral aspect to it. Because let's just assume that all the stuff with Patrick wasn't as sus as it is, which it
I'm
is.
sorry, it is what it is.
It is. I don't care who you are. Something ain't right. Go on, watch a couple episodes of Dateline, and then get back with me, okay? But something's off there. Assume that none of that was the case. You would still have this argument about mental health, and you have people on either side understanding because they've been mothers in this position, and luckily they had the support that they needed to get through it. And obviously she didn't, assuming that she actually did do it. It's a conversation that so many people are not willing to have. The conversation about mental health in this country, people don't wanna have it because they've never had to experience it themselves, or they've never dealt with a loved one who has had to experience it. Wait, I'm gonna say something here I probably shouldn't say, but Whitney is gonna know exactly what I'm talking about, and I'm not gonna list the creator, Derek, but I am gonna say there has been a creator that you have, um, had interactions with, I guess, um, that I also had interactions with concerning the topic of criminal justice and prison sentencing in this country. And for people who follow me, they know I am very passionate about our criminal justice system here and the absolute dumpster fire that it is. So, if we're talking mental health, criminal justice, especially in the state of Alabama, they're two of the shittiest things that we've got. Okay. Um, and anyway, this creator was making fun of another creator whose husband is in prison. Okay. And so my argument was, well, first of all, I don't really care what people do on their platforms. Everybody's got the platform to do what they want to do. Like, please feel free, go ahead. I'm doing what I
Ain't
want to do,
none
and
of
I
my
don't care what you.
business.
It
Yeah.
ain't none of my business. If you want to get your followers and you get your followers that way, like, boo, that's on you. That's fine. And you know what? I'm happy for you. But let me tell you what I'm not happy for you with is when you don't have empathy because someone that you have never experienced it, or you don't know someone close enough that has experienced something like that, and you don't want to be knowledgeable about an opinion that is different from you. And that's really what we deal with when we talk about the topic of mental health, is that if somebody hasn't experienced it or been through it or seen how the lack of resources in this country is just atrocious, how that ultimately affects everything else around us. Like, you think about it, it's every aspect of life. If you don't receive adequate mental health care, it affects everything else.
Mhm.
And
I'm
and
going off on my soapbox here, but either way, what I'm saying is if you lack empathy, get out of my chat. Truly, get out of my chat because there's going to become a day that you do learn karma is gonna come back. And let me just go ahead and tell you, it has with this person I'm talking about. It has, as I anticipated that it would. So hopefully they have changed their opinion on this. But
You never know what it's like until it happens to you.
correct. Thank you. I went on this whole tangent to say that. It's the wine. I'm sorry. Next time.
Oh, I forgot she was drinking the wine. Okay. She's getting passionate.
My ears are hot.
well, and the one of the biggest problems, in my opinion, that we have, especially in this state, but it's probably the same around the country. Mental health and criminal justice system intermingle way too much here. Meaning, our jails are full of people that do not need to be in jail.
Correct.
I I was a supervisor at a large county jail for 2 years, and it was sad. Some of the people that were in there, I mean, not sane in any sense of the way. That like anyone could see that. And nobody, you would talk to the judges about it, and they're like, we don't have anywhere to send them. And so when
And
they don't have anywhere else to send them, they just stick them in a county jail where they're locked down 24/7 because they can't be around other people. And you think that's going to help them at all? That would the that's going to make anyone go insane. And so when you put someone in there that's already obviously mentally struggling very bad, you're just making them way worse. And it's very sad. I wish more people could see that and go, if you are ever on a grand jury in the state of Alabama, or ever have the opportunity to take that, because one of the things that the grand juries get to do is tour their local county jail. And because if you've never been in one, it's an eye opener. And it will really, again, I wish more people understood it, and I wish someone would try to do something about it because it's really bad. And that's
And
one of the
that
biggest problems.
and people don't realize that. There's a group that I follow. I don't know why I follow this group because I'm delusional, I guess. But it's one of the Lindsay Clancy discussion groups on Facebook. And I'm actually going to pull it up. I'm actually going to find one because I'm spelling her name wrong. These people, first of all, they thought it was so important for them to go to a public Facebook group with 7,000 members and make a comment just as so stupid because they have zero discernment about something, right? It just amazes me that people just have the opinions that they do. But again, they've never been in that situation, whether and not just with Lindsay Clancy, but with anything. It's like they change their opinion once they go through it, and it gets me
society
riled up,
has a
y'all.
major issue right now with desensitization and lack of empathy. Oh, I think we could solve a world if people just could dig deep into their souls and pull those two things out to the surface. And and Neely, like even you and I, right? Like I am definitely like I am an empath, and it's a problem, you know. But having empathy for others is just so important, and that's what separates you from coming out of left field making inappropriate comments that you have no damn business making, and being like, okay, I can hold space for both truths here, right? Like in Lindsay Clancy's case, right? Whether she's found guilty or not or whatever, she was crazy when she did it, she was in psychosis. Like both things can be true. And I do love that this case has brought that to light, and more people I think are waking up to that idea that, this was a horrible, heinous act. But what can we do better to support mothers or anyone in a mental health crisis or ongoing, mental health crises? A lot of people are recognizing that. So I'm grateful. I always try to find the silver lining in these, societal shifts. I think like we're in the middle of one. And I think that that's important. People are seeing both things can be true, but some people don't. And you'll grow up one day.
This is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. That you can't really see the caption on this, but it says same person. This Linda lady really took us some time to go through and find some photos and lay this out and create this and go to a Facebook group and post this. I'm sorry, Linda, you are a loser.
What in the world?
Loser. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the
I
first
just it
comment under there is very well said.
yeah. Yeah. But this is all the time. And again,
Jesus.
it just stems from a lack of empathy. It is what it is. We have a lot of problems that could be solved simply by having empathy and seeing something from both sides. I mean, that goes to say, like, I have empathy for Patrick Clancy, to be honest with you. I mean, what if he had nothing to
Absolutely.
do with it and
Oh
it just
yeah,
happens to
absolutely.
be a bunch of sus stuff and everybody's like, "Oh, well, Patrick Clancy did it." I mean, can you imagine if you really didn't do it and somebody and the whole of TikTok is going through saying that you did something? I mean, I'm sure it would be difficult to come to terms with.
And the reality is that like we don't all have a crystal ball. We don't know how this is going to end, but like that is Patrick's reality right now. Like he's not the one on trial, but honey, in the court of social media, Patrick's hung, man. I mean, so I don't want to jump to the end here, but I will say, me and Neely have been texting because there's been some interesting stuff going on in the courtroom the last couple of days, and um, that judge cracks me up. You are not to speculate. Do not be speculating about
Oh
why
my
we
god.
are we are dismissing court early. Do not speculate. It has nothing to do with any like he's just it's funny, but like I mean, I know they have to give that little disclaimer to the jurors. And Derek, you may not have seen this, but they have not whatever. They've ended court early the last 2 days and like this judge like cartoon characters, like with their Minnesotan accents or whatever. But like, do not speculate. And there's a lot of speculation and just like, he's picking apart like exactly what he's saying when like they adjourn early and all this stuff. And one of the theories is like, is Patrick in danger? Is Patrick's life in danger? Have the internet sleuths and the people coming through for Lindsay, have they created this unsafe environment for him? I'm sure he's gotten death threats. You can't tell me that he hasn't.
If
People
if he
sometimes people
doesn't
just
have protection as far as some kind of security, especially going to and from the court, which hopefully he does, but yeah, absolutely. There are people out there that are crazy, and if they get, I mean, we see it all the time, but
Mhm.
I would, no doubt in my mind, he is in danger.
I mean,
Well,
No doubt in my
absolutely.
mind.
this is I've opted to share audio of this, so hopefully the audio shows if it doesn't. But this is what we were talking about. This is what has cracked us up for the last couple days is him giving the instructions about not speculating. And I want you first of all, TikTok comments never miss. Okay. Somebody says, "We're not going to speculate, we're going to TikTokulate." I've never speculated more in my life.
And so this was yesterday, Neely, the first day that they broke early or left early.
Yes, and then they broke early again today, and he gave very similar stuff. So anyway, I'm gonna play this for you real quick.
Due to an unforeseen circumstance, we're gonna excuse you until tomorrow morning. All right. This is not something we saw coming, but you're not to speculate about what it is. You're not to hold it against either side. It's just something that we have to deal with. All right. And so I'm going to excuse you till tomorrow morning. I'm going to remind you, as I have every night for the last number of weeks, don't do any research about this case. Don't talk about it. Don't read anything. Don't watch anything about this case or similar cases. And with that, we'll bring you back here. We will deal what we have to deal with, and we'll get right back on track. We are still well within the timeline that I gave you regarding this case, but it's just something we can't control. So I'm going to excuse you till tomorrow with my thanks for your patience, and I'll see you tomorrow morning. Due to an unforeseen.
That is the most suspicious way I've ever heard a judge cut the trial out early for a day.
I mean,
Like, he could not have made it more sus.
That's why the comments just cracked me up. What
goodness.
somebody said, though, I don't know if you guys saw this. I saw a comment from a court reporter that unforeseen circumstances could literally mean the judge has diarrhea. So who knows?
they're like, he might have Crohn's and he's in a flare up. And his dismissal today was equally as strange. And so, like, of course, all night I'm like looking up like what happened, what could have happened, what was going on, who were the witnesses that were coming up next. And so, like, there's all these different things. Patrick's safety being a reason, definitely possible. Crohn's disease of the judge, not off the table. But there's also too, there were some witnesses. So her attorney, Red, he had an expert witness that was supposed to come in, and they were explaining like they were going to come in, but then the judge said that this person could not testify because not that he found them not credible, but that they didn't work at whatever facility long enough for him to feel like their testimony would be relevant. But I'm like, that's not it. He's being way more sus than that. Like this is bigger. And Neely said that to me too. She's like, there's something's going on.
I have just
I'm being
spidey
dead
feeling.
serious. I've sat through, more trials than I could count. That's the most suspicious way I've ever seen a judge released for the day. He could
And then
not
I was
have made
paying
it more
attention to
suspicious.
everybody else too. I have watched that clip quite a few times because I'm trying to read everybody in the room. And Lindsay, I get the feeling that there was not there wasn't confusion on her face. And I know that she's like, I don't know how medicated she is. I know that there's been a lot of talk about like she does not show a lot of emotion, but I think that she has been showing she's more easy to read lately. There's a little bit more out of her. And so I don't get the feeling from her that she does not understand why they broke early, right? Because I was like looking for her, like, are they confused? That clip did not show Red, her attorney, zoomed out. I felt like there was an interesting read. Some people felt like he was frustrated yesterday. And some people felt like there was actually almost I don't know, Neely, if you've seen the comments, I'm trying to think of how to describe it. Like the next phase is about to start. Like something's about to turn a big corner. Like it's just interesting. I'm going to watch his reactions a little bit more, but.
Speaking of Reddington, I have now turned this in to a meme that I am sending to everyone. Okay. When he says, do you have a copy? And he says, oh, I have a copy. And he brings this big ass poster board.
Facebook post?
It's a text message conversation.
Text message? Yeah.
But listen, every single exhibit that this man has in this trial, he puts on these ginormous poster boards. And not only that, he holds them really close to the witness. He's like, do you remember this? And they're all in his face. This dude, like, hopefully they have some type of biopic about this guy because he's just a beast in the courtroom. He does not give no shits. Okay. But this with him printing out the text. And then here's one thing. Here's something funny. Okay. I believe that this text conversation was between Lindsay and her mother. It was either between Lindsay and her mother or Lindsay and her mother-in-law. But she's talking about the fact that basically that she needs some help. Okay. That she's overwhelmed. And there's physical evidence where she's asking for it. And so, Reddington, when he leaves it right after this clip, this is just a short clip of this, but when he leaves it, he sets it next to the stenographer or the court reporter, and he puts it where it faces the jury. So this is the very last thing that they see. I mean, it's obvious. It's sitting right there in front of the jury. And it's just very strategic about how he's doing it. So this in itself just cracks me up how old school he is about his stuff. Let me say something about Reddington too. From what I've been able to gather about him, that pretty much everything from this trial, imagine how big this trial is. Okay. Freaking TMZ is following around Patrick and Rachel, his new wife, paparazzi following him around, whatever. It's Reddington and his paralegal, to my knowledge. Lindsay has a civil trial attorney, Rosemary Scapicchio. I get it confused because of Whitney's last name.
I was like, is that my auntie? No.
It's very similar. And then she has one other attorney that I believe is a civil attorney. I could be wrong about that.
Like her legal team is small, but they are mighty, honey.
Yes. That's what I'm getting at. Like, put some respect on Reddington's name. You know what I mean? He coming with the receipts.
Man, dude. I love him. I do.
When he says,
And
"Oh,
I
I
don't
have
know
a
if it's
coopy."
yeah. I got a coopy. Ariel actually, she dropped a comment. She goes, "The judge shrugging when he pulled it out killed me." And he asked the judge, "Can I submit this? The one we have an exhibit is a tiny little thing. I like this one." Oh my god, I love it. I don't know how true it is.
Whitney's
I heard.
Boston accent is on point, by the way.
Thank you, thank you.
What about mine, Derek? I'm really trying hard over here.
It's the
I'm just-
wine. Try
I
again
was about to
next
say,
time.
I was born in Alabama. What can I say?
I heard that Red came out of retirement for this case. And I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's just one of those little things, but like, I mean, he's older. I could see it, but he's just slaying them, man. You know, old school.
Let's read about him real quick.
I like him.
He was awarded Massachusetts criminal defense attorney with over 40 years experience and a solid reputation for defending his clients to the fullest extent possible. I'm pretty sure we can vouch for that watching him in the Lindsay Clancy trial. And he just looks cool. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I hate how there's. Okay, Reddington, I'm going to accept your cookies on your website. Hold on, I'll show you guys this.
Melody, the doctor that flipped off, everybody also took me out as well.
Oh yeah, him doing this and looking straight at the camera. Yeah, look at him when he was younger. Look at
Look
him
at
now.
that stash.
I was about
Look
to
at
say
the
that's
boss.
Look right here.
one stash there.
This dude's a badass.
If he was,
Have you guys seen the guy on
Definitely
TikTok, Beauregard Mercer the Fourth Esquire? Have you heard him?
No.
Oh my god, I don't know if he's a real attorney or not, but I thought he was hilarious. But I didn't even hold a candle to Kevin Reddington. Like, this dude is the OG. I mean, you could just tell. But you know what though? Like, on a serious note, it is significant to me that you have a trial attorney like this with, such notoriety, like basically being known to, really go above and beyond for his clients. But to take on a case like this, where we're talking about, things like postpartum psychosis and postpartum depression, and the fact that it's a man. I mean, I'm going to pull out my little feminist icon here, right? But that's significant to me that he's willing to come out and be an advocate for her. And anytime that he speaks about her in interviews leading up to the courthouse, he's always stopped and talked to reporters, and not like in a hurried way either. He's really giving them the time of day and answering their questions to the best of his ability, I guess, or what he legally can say. Let me put it this way. We have worked with a lot of attorneys, and not all of them are very nice. In fact, most of them are not nice at all and will not give you the time of day. And so I feel like he's got it together, and he genuinely cares about his client.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I was just looking up something and I came across a comment. It's a subreddit, but somebody was asking, I read somewhere that Reddington is defending his client on a pro bono basis, which is not true. That is everywhere that you look. I see that. Oh, he's doing it for free. Like, look at him. He came out of retirement and he's doing it for free. He's not. But a commenter said, no, but does anybody else find it interesting that she chose an old white guy to be her attorney? Maybe it's just me, but given what they're using as their defense, don't you think it would have been a better strategy to have a female defense attorney? And they went on to say, that makes me wonder if there were things about it that made other people not want to take it on. That last sentence does nothing for me, but I do think it is interesting, like watching what the Lindsay Clancy trial has stirred up in social media and on the news and just public perception. I do think it is a testament to his strategy and what he's doing in the courtroom, because I do think, right, like, we do all have unconscious bias, right? And so I do agree with that commenter that you would think that Lindsay had like a strong female, leading the charge in this case, just for perception. But it is amazing what Red has been able to do as an old white man. Their words, not mine. It's very interesting. It is a very interesting case.
We call them OWGs, by the way, old white guys.
Like that. He's definitely an OG.
So I'm looking through because I did it as a Facebook event. Okay, let me let our viewers know this real quick. The last time we tried to go live on Facebook, it sets it to private. And so this time we had to figure out how to set it to public. So I had to create a Facebook event. As a result, the Facebook event comments show up in Facebook and not in our software where all of our other comments show. So Derek and Whitney, you guys, I don't know if you can see this. I invited you as co-host of the other, but either way, we're figuring this out in real time. Okay. But there's a ton of comments in the chat over here. One that I want to kind of laugh at here is that Michelle Barbie Arnold thinks my Yankee imitation is too much.
It's trash. No, I'm just kidding. I have not seen the Facebook comment.
I've got Facebook pulled up, so I see the comments.
Oh gosh, that's funny, Michelle. But it's true. It is the wine. That's why I got the wine, so I would, not be a stick in the mud the whole time. Anyway, there's so much to this case, you guys. Like, I could go on forever and ever about it.
There is one thing, and this is so random, just throw it in the middle somewhere, that we saw. I think for me, and let me just preface this with saying, I have, if she's watching this or watches it on the playback, I have an amazing mother-in-law. Okay. Like, if some shit goes down, and it's like this on both sides, like if some shit goes down, like my mother, behind my husband all day, every day. But my mother-in-law, like, it's the same with me. Like, me and my mother-in-law are very close. And, of course, God forbid something happened. Like, I would always want our parents to stand on the right side of justice no matter what. But it is so wild to me. If you go back and watch where Patrick's mother testified in court, and how... Did you watch it, Neely? Did you watch Patrick's
where
mom?
she nods to Lindsay as she leaves?
Well, and there's some, was it either way? It was either to Red, Lindsay, or like that team. But it was, for me, it was what she said on the stand. You know what I mean? Like,
about how good of a mother Lindsay was.
And many of the witnesses. I mean, I have to say that too. You know what I mean? Like, we don't know. We don't know, but we know. But a lot of the witnesses, like medical professionals, like people across the board, agree what a great mother she was. And it makes you wonder, what is the strategy there? Because, the way the case is being tried, and really what the possible outcomes are, it's just such an interesting strategy, what people are coming in and saying. And I think that is why there's this whole, well, Patrick did it, and there's going to be, people that don't understand like the legal system and process. They're like, one day they're going to come in and they're going to dismiss, and, next week Patrick's going to be, on the stand. Like, that's just not how that works. But I think it's because of like the testimony and the things, and obviously the evidence creating some doubt for people, that people have this perception that they do of how this case may go. But her mother-in-law, her testimony was huge, and comments were overwhelming whenever I saw this talked about on social media. I can't relate because I have a mother in love that I love, but most people were like, oh my God, if that was me, like my mother-in-law hated me so much that like if she had the chance to put me away for life, she would have, right? And so again, it just speaks volumes what people were saying about Lindsay.
I think that is that's pretty powerful for the jury to see the mother-in-law get up there and say those things about her, especially in this situation. I think that's very powerful.
Okay, Melody coming through with the thank you, Neely. I was like, can't miss out on that one. I didn't catch this. I did not know. She said such good things about Lindsay, the mother-in-law. Lindsay talked trash about her in messages. I think that says something about Lindsay's character. I mean, I have friends that have horrible mother-in-laws. I'm not saying that Lindsay is justified in what she said, because again, like, girl, she just went to bat for you on the stand. So Lindsay, maybe she's feeling like an asshole now. I don't know what the things were that she said, Melody. But again, I mean, it does say a lot about Lindsay's character, but to know that the mother-in-law is still up there and defending her character and her as a mother, again, it's a big deal to me.
Were these, is Melody talking about messages like between Lindsay and Patrick where she was dogging the mother-in-law?
Let's see what Melody has to say. Obviously, I think this would have been stuff that came up in evidence, right?
Yeah.
Or came up in testimony. Yeah, it just depends. I don't know what the relationship could be described as between Patrick and his mother, but I just know that I was kind of like, holy crap, like, this is crazy. Okay.
Oh, Lindsay and her friends.
Yeah.
I mean, that could just, I don't know.
Maybe she had a bad day. Maybe Lindsay, I'm not making excuses. It sounds like I am, but maybe I think what you say with your friends sometimes, like, it'd be different if she was like talking to Patrick. I think I would put a bit more weight into that, but maybe mother-in-law overstepped, the boundaries one too many times with the kids or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you're a lot. Even adults, when they're talking to their friend, if they're in like a chat with their friends or a group chat or something, sometimes they say stuff just to still want to feel cool. I'm not saying that's what happened, but
people bitch to bitch. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
People complain to complain sometimes.
Like you said, if she was dogging her to Patrick, then I would look at it differently than since it's with her friends. But I'm definitely not taking up for her because I don't know exactly what they said or anything. But like I said, I think it's very powerful that the jury saw her get up there and testify for her.
Melody goes on to say it was like she was talking out of both sides of her mouth, and maybe that's who Lindsay was in her, her friendship circle, right? Like, maybe Lindsay was a mean girl. I mean, like, you never know, but
she's been diagnosed with as bipolar as well, right? Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, since she could never get that diagnosis during, even though they allege she clearly showed signs of it. They refused to diagnose her with that and instead prescribed her a bunch of medication that is known to not mix well with a person with bipolar disorder. But yes.
Yeah, I know last night, and I know Melody has kept up with this case nonstop, and it may have been her on my live, but somebody was saying that she had tried up to like over 30 different medicines.
Yeah. And that's a whole nother layer too, y'all, that we didn't get into. It's like, she was on certain medications and she was off of them.
But somebody was saying that
they thought that at one point, like, there were obviously medications that she should have been off of. And it was made very clear at one point in the trial that Patrick was very good about disposing of medication that Lindsay was no longer going to take, right? Like, the doctor determined that this was not a medication she would continue. And Patrick was the one that always handled the, the proper disposal of the medication. But then I guess probably during like the search warrant or what have you, there were actually medications that he should have disposed of per doctor's recommendation or whatever, that were found in the house too. Like, the medication thing is a whole thing in itself.
Yeah, because someone last night on my live was alleging, or not necessarily alleging, but asking the question of, or maybe they were alleging. Anyway, there's a theory that maybe he was over medicating her purposely, like giving her too much medicine purposely. I guess that's where that came from. If they found a bunch of extra there or whatever.
That and the fact that the night of the incident, the people who talk about her medical background and things that she wasn't aware of, and even I know myself, and I'm not a medical professional, is, the acidity, any acidic drink, right? And how it can react with certain medications and make them less effective, or some medications, it interacts opposite. Anyways, but the drugs that she was going to overdose with, she took the time to crush them and put them with lemonade. And so like the nurse sleuths, came through, and they're like, there's no way. Like, there's absolutely no way. Like, first of all, why would you, this is what they're alleging, why would you crush the medication that you're trying to overdose yourself with and sprinkle it in a drink? And Lindsay would have known not to put it in lemonade.
Well, someone, if they're going to do that, they're not in a rational mind no matter what.
It's true.
They're I wouldn't put much into that, especially considering we know, I mean, look what she did. And that's one of my things, like from some of the notes that I was looking at that my team sent me on this case, was the prosecution's theory is premeditation, and that they're arguing that she acted intentionally and rationally and swiftly. Me not knowing any more about the case than I know right now, I can say I don't agree with that at all, considering after the children, she then cuts her wrist and jumps out of a window and paralyzes herself. You're not going to convince me she was thinking rationally at that time, no matter what.
But then on the other side, one could argue, look at all the things that she did that night, right? Like, if we go with the story, that Lindsay did do this, whether it was premeditated or not, look at the planning and the forethought that went into like that whole night, right? Like, she's looking up the medication, like she's of sound mind during those times, right? Like you are researching medication. You are making sure, I've been that mom before. Neely, I know you've been there. Derek, you have kids. Like, my child needs medication. Which store has it in stock? Okay, Patrick's going to go out. Please get this medication, right? Like, there were multiple medications, right? So she's thinking through, like, treating whatever ailment was happening with the child. She's thinking about dinner. She finds the place. She, pulls up their to-go menu. She asks Patrick what he wants. And so, like, I understand that, like, she could be in psychosis, but like, that's a whole lot of normal stuff that, like, I'm not one to, to know what happens to everybody in psychosis, but like, I just feel like there are two realities that were supposed to be happening during this time. And like, and it just doesn't match up for me, but I could see where they could argue that she was of sound mind. So it must have been premeditated, because look at all the things that she did, and like, and how she orchestrated keeping him out of the house for X amount of, time.
But back to your point earlier you made of, there was a lot of planning for the future per se in her plans, versus if you would think anyway, again, I'm not pretending to be a psychiatrist, but I would think if she knows what she is about to do and that she's literally planning that out, why necessarily would she go through all that trouble to research the medicine and make sure CVS has it, and
call CVS and
all
ask
that
them if they have
stuff?
it?
Like, that's, I mean, it's very confusing, for sure. The whole thing.
I could see her sending him on an errand run, right?
Yeah.
Like, I know it'll take him 15 minutes to get here, 10 minutes in the store with this list. That'll give me 25 minutes. If I send him to, 3V, whatever, like, it gives her some time. But like, it's just like some of the extra little steps that were added in there. To me, that is not like in the mind of someone who was planning to to do this. But then also too, psychosis is you can have like mental breaks, right? Like she could have been potentially fully functioning normally, and then a voice comes to her and she snaps in mere moments. So
Now, if she would have called CVS and asked for that specific medicine and they said they're out of it, and then she still sent him there to get it, then that would make you think, okay, she did that purposely, so he'd have to go to another pharmacy to look for it. But that's not the case, correct?
and so no, but what you just said, if you remember what Neely said, he supposedly calls her because he is there and they don't have the name brand. And so that's why when he's explaining what these phone calls were, it's because they did not have the name
Right.
brand. So like, you know what I mean? Like it's every little
Mm.
detail in this really matters. And it pivots me, right? Like it pivots me back and forth and like my thoughts and my opinions. But then in the photo you can, and I say it's alleged, I could not see it clearly, but through the CVS bag, it's actually the name brand that he got.
So the Google search she apparently made about where the carotid artery is located. So they're saying that it looks like she made that search, because that doesn't make sense for a nurse to. I mean,
That was a huge point
that's
of
strange.
issue. I think early on, Neely, again, you followed this earlier than I did, but I think that was one of those things that like I think that people on the internet really latched onto, was that search was just not, nobody felt like that was realistic for her to search, and then where the actual cuts were on her wrists. If you were going to unalive yourself, there's a lot of debate over like they were superficial maybe, and they, as a nurse, she would have known where to cut. And then there's a Google search here, you know what I mean? Like, so even if in her not right mind she could not remember from her nursing days where she needed to make that cut to make sure that she sealed the deal, the cuts were just not, they were not consistent with what people considered to be an attempted.
That that's making me second guess what I said a while ago now.
That's what I'm telling you. Go back.
Maybe she jumped out of the window, but there's a decent chance she didn't realize it was going to paralyze her.
And Derek, you should go look at the details around that. Neely, have you fallen down that rabbit hole about like the blood smear pattern like on the window?
I'm telling y'all, this video that I'm talking about with the Bratz doll reaction or reenaction addresses all of that.
Even
It
the
Now-
window
makes
portion.
yes.
Now my team sent me, I haven't watched it, but they sent me a TikTok video made by a forensic pathologist and claiming that he completely debunks that video you're talking about.
Well, and that's what I'm saying, because somebody told me about that earlier, and I haven't watched it yet, and I'm interested to watch it, and we can address it later. But I don't see how anyone can explain away that little piece of droplet evidence that's underneath the side table, right? If the table was not over the top of it, then yes, I could absolutely see that. But I don't see how anyone can explain away that droplet of that droplet of blood right there underneath the table.
Yeah, I'm curious about what the guy's, how he's debunking it or whatever, for sure, because I agree with you.
And for me, for that room, like I agree with you, Neely. Like out of everything, like at least in that room, in that area, that droplet, I have questions. But I also would love to hear Patrick's recollection of what happened when he got in that bedroom. Did he shift furniture after the fact in like an actual attempt to like make sense of like where Lindsay was, right? Like, did he obviously he saw blood in that room. So like, did he shift furniture when he was like trying to figure out like, is she in the closet? Like, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that could make sense as well, for sure.
Well, again, I know it seems like I'm just like, oh, I don't think Lindsay did it. I think Patrick did it. Do I think it would make more sense for Patrick to do it than Lindsay? Yes. Duh. Especially Lindsay over here, the way she's talking about everything, making plans. Jennifer made a good point in our Facebook chat here. She said, also, I feel if this was planned ahead of time, wouldn't she have wanted to wait until Patrick was out of town again? I mean, he was traveling all the time. So wouldn't it have made more sense for her to wait and travel, for him to be completely out of town and take care of all that and then him just have no idea? Like, why would she
I
wait?
Maybe she wanted him to find her,
So
and it would look
I
more.
don't
I don't
want to
know.
say too much, but I someone that I was very close with at one point lost a parent to suicide. And this and their parent was mentally unwell for many years, and that was one thing from their childhood that they remembered clearly. That I always thought was interesting, and I don't want to be insensitive, but I thought it was really interesting that the parent attempted suicide multiple times, and they always did it while the other parent was there. And kind of like this situation, my friend, the parent that is still alive, has had a job where like they would travel out of the country very frequently. And so I'm always like, gosh, like how selfish is it? You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to pass judgment, but like my mind then was like, how selfish is it that like you were doing this? Like they would attempt it on holidays, like when when there were people around. And I don't know what sort of like personality profile or mental illness that falls into, but I do think that some people do unalive themselves, whether it's because they want to be sure that they're quickly found, or I'm trying to think of how to word this. This sounds so bad, but almost like an attention thing.
Sometimes it is. I'm not trying to be insensitive, because definitely not every time, but sometimes for sure. But another thing, I'm not going to go into detail why, but I've had these conversations with quite a few people that were having these thoughts
Mm-hmm.
and going through those bad times. And one thing that stuck out to me with a lot of them is the biggest part of their planning of that was who was going to find them, because there was certain people they wouldn't want to find them, because they didn't want to scar them for the rest of their lives. And so they would purposely, their plans were to go, this place where their friend would find them versus their spouse. Does that make sense? Um,
Yeah.
but obviously, I mean, everybody's different, but I've heard that a lot as far as the planning. And then if they're if they really, well, hate their spouse, and that's what in their mind is driving them to that, then that would be the person they wanted to find them. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah. Not the right way to say this probably, but like it's like that last bit of not revenge. That sounds so bad, but like
Yeah,
this is the result or what I feel. You know what I mean? Like I did
yeah.
this, and you are going to be left to be the one to deal with this now. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean.
But then on the other hand, there's obviously numerous people that's done that, and none of their thoughts were rational beforehand at all.
Mm-mm.
So I mean, that's going to differ from each person and exactly what they're going through or what type of mental state they're in at the time.
And Neely, do you think that the Bratz doll video is like, would they take us down for that?
Oh yeah, well, probably because it does show the crime scene video or the crime scene photos as far as the blood spatter, but it also shows the reenactment. I mean, I could probably try to find it and just not play the whole video and just show portions of the reenactment. So I will try that real quick. But I just think the way that it was done, it was very well made, the points that they were making about it. But even if all the other stuff was wrong, it's the fact that that one piece was a big ordeal. You know what I'm saying?
And I was going to look it up too, because I don't think that that was the only thing. I mean, there's a lot of abnormalities. But with that crime scene specifically, let me see. Because, okay, so like the knife. And let me fact check myself because I don't want to say the wrong thing. But yeah, you pull that up.
All right. So this is essentially, you can see she's got a cardboard box. She's got paint indicating blood splatters. And she did this according to the crime scene photos that she took, and she put how the splatters appear in the photo. So this is what I was talking about when you see the bed is moved, because the bed was up against the window. And you would have to go through and watch this entire video for it to make sense as to why there's spatter here, why here. And she defends it by saying that it couldn't have been Lindsay, that it would have had to have been Patrick. And this also explains the cut, not only the cuts on her wrist, but the cuts on her neck, or the injuries to her neck and her thyroid. Because
the
he
thyroid
was
thing is weird.
Yes, because he was trying, according to this person, that he was trying to stage it in which it appeared as if it was a suicide, but it wasn't, right? So
A
that's
crushed thyroid, like that was a big one for me. I forget, there's just so much, but like that.
I'm gonna stop sharing for a second so I can fast forward. Hold on, let me find it. All right. So this creator, this is her theory, not mine. But her theory is that that Lindsay is unconscious at this point because he has over medicated her to where she is unconscious. And so this creator believes that she is placed on the edge of the bed here, and there is a mirror on this other side, because the creator claims that he couldn't see if he's behind her, so he's using the mirror to make these superficial injuries to make it look like she had injured herself, right? And that he has the injuries to her wrist, that therefore the blood splatters down, it drips down right here, which would explain the blood spatter at the end of the bed there. Okay. I'm going to unshare again. All right. Then he moves her to another area of the bed because he's trying to get her out the window. So he's behind, according to this creator. I'm being very careful about this. According to this creator, he is behind her and he's kind of placing her over the top here. But again, she has injuries already on her wrist. And so she's hanging there by the side table. Right? Is it making sense? And she's labeling them spot A, spot B, and in between these reenactments, she's showing the crime scene photo itself to show that this is all looking similar. All right.
Would there not be, if the theory is he threw her out of the window, how would there not be footprint in that blood spatter right there? Now,
because she goes over the bed.
So Oh, she goes over to the bed.
Yeah.
Why did she move the bed then?
Wait, so what I'm gathering is that they're alleging that Patrick kind of like, she's limp. He creates the wounds. And from the bed, he kind of dangles her off at different points, Neely. Am I following, to like kind of
Kind
create
of.
like the blood trail?
Yes.
I see what you're okay. Was there
Okay,
any
so
blood on the bed?
no. Not that I'm aware of. So do you see this right here where this is what I was talking about where it would be droplet?
Yeah.
So this is what this person is saying is that eventually when he I guess maybe is trying to make sure she's out or something, once she's out the window, then he moves the table back underneath, and that's where you get the blood spatter from. So hold on,
why would he move the table back though?
the way that she's explaining it is that she's trying to make it, or that he was trying to make it look staged. But I don't know. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I kind of agree with you. Like if he did do all this and the blood spatter was explained that way, why wouldn't he just leave the room as it was?
And I'm not disagreeing with him or with the video you're talking about. I haven't seen it. I'll watch that too. I just ask a lot of questions. Just have a lot of questions
No,
to ask.
I mean, I get it because I mean, I'm asking it too. You know what I mean? I just like, I don't know the answer.
We had the one comment about did they check all the shoes? Obviously, going back to if he changed his shoes and the other shoes would possibly have had blood splatter. I agree with that, but I think with the volume of blood, you would have expected to see a shoe impression, a shoe print somewhere, even if it was just, a partial. Personally,
Yeah.
what I think, I'm not an expert, but
Mm-hmm.
But were there any footprints in the because chances are she would have stepped in it too. If it had just been her.
I don't think so. But because of the absence of footprints, this whole dangling her off the bed theory to
Does make
stage,
sense.
yeah, it does.
Yeah, wow. My goodness, this thing has so many twists and turns.
I'm telling you.
1 second
This
I'm
is why I'm
convinced one way,
saying
and the next I'm completely convinced the other way.
this is why I'm saying, like, it doesn't matter which way you lean. The fact is that, like, I couldn't look at this and say, "Oh, this is absolutely what happened."
Yeah.
I don't believe what the prosecution is saying. Therefore, there is reasonable doubt.
Yeah. Well,
Is
if the prosecution did as good in their investigation as they're presenting the case, from what it sounds like, they didn't do a great job.
no.
And I'm not saying they didn't. I'm just because I haven't watched it, obviously, but there's a lot of opinions out there that don't think they did. And
No, there were days where, like, we talk about how some of the public have really incorrect perceived ways that they think that this is going to end. I mean, it was like trending for a minute that people thought, oh my gosh, there must be something that's going to come out soon, or the prosecution, through all this, they've realized that there's questions around Patrick. And they said, like, is it possible that the prosecution is intentionally throwing the case at this point? Like this was real conversation. Like, people were like, they could be throwing it, and then, like, they're going to do this, and then they'll come back and it'll be Patrick, that's being tried. And I'm like, baby, that's not how it works. But
no, that's one heck of a stretch there.
But that is how poorly they have done. And I think, the Bo lady, I think sometimes she really thinks that she be eaten up there. And she walks away, and I mean, and it's like, you just did Lindsay's side a whole lot of favors. I mean, it's pretty bad.
My wife was a prosecutor for 5 years, and she has watched a little bit of it, and I was asking her about it a few days ago of her thoughts, and I just know she does not have good things to say about the prosecutor. She's,
You don't
that's the nicest
say.
way to put it. So I haven't seen it, but like I said, her opinion, she's not very fond of that prosecutor.
They're terrible. I mean, I'm not even a prosecutor. I can tell you, like, if I was a juror, I would be disgusted, especially after the whole, mortal sin question.
Yeah,
If I
that's
was kind
terrible.
of leaning, one where like it would have that would have been the end of it at that point. So I'm almost thinking that like maybe and like I see a comment about this. I feel like it's going to be not guilty or a hung jury. I am leaning towards a hung jury. I think it may be a hung jury because I think there are going to be some people who truly believe that Lindsay is guilty, but then others, who are uh, so disgusted by the prosecution and don't trust the prosecution that I think it's going to result in a hung jury. That's if we
Just
want to
from
start
everything
taking
I'm
bets
hearing,
now.
I find it hard to believe that it's not going to be not guilty. I mean, everyone that I've talked to, that I've asked their opinion, that has kept up with it, especially some of the ones I've asked that have experience doing that themselves, they don't think there's a chance in hell that she's going to be found guilty at this point. But again,
The thing is,
who
though,
knows?
is like I've seen some of these cases that play out publicly like this, where I mean, everyone's like, I mean, like we know what's going to happen, but really not having the influence of following things online. If these jurors are really following the rules and not doing what they're doing, what their perception is in real time, right? It might be very different. It will be interesting to see because this it's always interesting for me to see like the contrast between what the online jury clocking in for free has to say, and because we are able to research deeper and
Yeah.
feed off of others' thoughts and opinions. I can't wait, years removed, if jurors, come out and speak out about this. What did they really perceive in real time? Was it as blatant to them,
Yeah.
some of these things in real time?
Well, in any jury trial, one of the bigger factors is who's the leader of the jury when they get in that room back there. And if they're a really, really great leader and really good communicator, then sometimes they're very good at talking everyone into how they feel. And who knows if they're biased, if they're not. I mean, there's
Juror fatigue,
anyone will tell
right?
you that, yes, and anyone will tell you any jury trial is there is it can throw you off so much when they come out with their decision that you're like, what? Like you never know. I mean, it's a toss up. Any jury trial in reality is pretty much a toss up.
It's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out. I don't think that we are in the most interesting days yet. Red really just got started with his witness list. Somebody had commented earlier. I knew that some witnesses had fallen off, but I think maybe it was Miss Melody had commented that there is a significant reduction in the witness list for the defendant side. And then I have.
Do you think that's a good thing or what? Like, what do we think the reasoning for that was?
I literally was like, I sat with myself for a second when I read that, and I'm like, is this good? Is this bad? Like, I don't know.
I mean, I think it definitely could be good because it could mean the defense is going, and it sounds like the defense attorney is very intelligent. So it could be, hey, this is going really well for us, so we don't need to push it too far because right now if he feels like, hey, we're really up, and he don't want a chance a witness coming in and completely screwing it up, then he he may look at it like that, but there's no way of me knowing that right now. I mean,
But I also see Red as someone like he's obviously very confident, but I don't think that he is arrogant. And I can't see him. He's put so much into this, you can tell, and I cannot see him taking a risk of not having important witnesses with important testimony come forward. And then we also have to think too, this whole news about him cutting down the witness list is on the heels of this thou shall
That's
not
true.
speculate. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like there is something weird going on. And then we find out that the witness list has been cut. I'm so impatient. I just need to know what's going on. Ariel, the prosecutor trying to raise the question of why Lindsay didn't have a head injury since she fell. I lost it. Where was it?
Hold on.
I
Sorry,
don't
lost it
understand
too.
their approach. They can't debunk her paralysis. There he is.
Like, she's literally in a wheelchair, and you're gonna try to be like, "Oh, she's faking that."
That prosecutor.
Be for real.
I hope she learns some things from this case. Not her career is going to be over soon. We got more comments.
I think before all this is over, Commonwealth will file some sort of charges against Patrick because of the statement of Lindsay saying she had thoughts of hurting the kids.
I don't see that happening. I think that's a long shot. Again,
I think it's good. I think it would depend on what the result is of the trial as to whether they continue. You know, I mean, they truly have made a fool of themselves. So
it would be hard to convict him, considering her own defense attorney is not trying to. Her own defense attorney has said she did this, pretty much. It's just she didn't.
I mean, he did say
you know. So I think that would be very hard for anything to go against Patrick just because of that. Now, I mean, I could be wrong. Obviously, I mean, anything could happen, but I would find it hard to believe.
Did you guys see the thing about the silent protest and then
I knew one was happening, but I didn't see like what the turnout was or anything.
It was a decent crowd out there from the picture I saw or video or whatever.
I'm gonna try to find it real quick. My brain stopped working. The wine got to me.
Yeah, and Jennifer on Facebook, I agree with you. The more you look at everything, the more questions there are. That's exactly how I'm feeling right now.
Like I jump every time I read something. Every time I watch something, I'm jumping back and forth on my position.
Yeah, that's a decent crowd out there.
Wow. So, one thing. There's so many things I find interesting. One other thing I find interesting. So people talk about the fact that, you know, her team is not denying that she did this, but, you know, being very literal and taking their own words. And when we were talking earlier, I looked up that civil suit, right? Because I'm like, well, I think that Lindsay gave an account in her civil suit for like medical malpractice and all that. Like she's got that separate case going on. And just basically like how she was not treated properly. They're, you know, the people that are like, you know, 100% Lindsay did this, they were arguing, well, in that filing, she like, that's where she admits to it because there's been no real admission here in this case. We say that they're not arguing that she didn't do it, but if you pay very close attention to how they word it, they lean into, and I'm with Neely, my brain is like starting to give out, but they lean very heavily into I'm going to be very narrow with this, but it's a little bit more broad, you know, the voices that guided her and commanded her. and like I feel like I know where I want to go with this, but I'm trying to think of how I want to connect the dots. There is a lot of, and I'm not saying that I believe it, but psychosis, could someone tapping into, like, is it home theater audio in the house, is it on the Alexa, Google Home, what have you, could
the baby monitors
could a real human's voice in the midst of someone's psychosis be coming through and giving you commands, and you really think that it is like something that you're imagining on your own, but it's actually somebody like talking to you, freaking you the hell out while you're in the middle of psychosis. And so when I think about how they have not denied that Lindsay did it, however, we did enter into a not guilty plea, right? And when I go back to that civil filing where people are like, well, no, like that's the smoking gun because she's admitted it in a separate case. It actually, the language is very similar to what's happening in this case. Is maybe, and I'm probably not saying this right, anybody is welcome to weigh in here, or anybody in the chat that's following this, but I don't see anywhere where Lindsay said, yes, I came in and I did this. This is exactly how I did this. I did this on my own accord. It is very much like I was guided or I was told that I did this.
I see what you're saying.
Do you know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah.
it's like very technical. Like, you have to like really take the words literally, but it is interesting because we're in that, we've entered not guilty. I don't know. It's just weird. It's interesting. And then like that happens, right? We enter the case, on that premise, and now all this other evidence is coming, and it's like, is something kind of being set up, to lean to go a different route, I don't know. Got some comments here. I'm not saying that the Commonwealth will file murder charges against Patrick, but charges of maybe neglect. There's been a recent case where DA's going after parents knowing or have heard statements of crimes. I think my brain is giving out. I'm trying to understand. But charges of maybe neglect on the children, or
Yeah,
like,
that's what she's saying. I think that's what she's saying anyway.
There has been a recent case where DA is going after parents knowing or have heard statements of crimes. For me, I'm not 100% convinced Lindsay did it. If you tell someone in a psychosis state over and over that they did a crime, then the mind will accept it and form memories of them doing it. And, when I jump over to, I'm really certain a question, and, if Lindsay's actually did this or not, I share that same sentiment with you. I think for me, it's like watching how Lindsay has evolved throughout the case. Like I have seen those aha moments from her, right? And I feel like she is kind of waking up as this goes on. So I know that psychosis can take a strong hold on the mind. So I agree.
All right. So Melody said the statement that you're talking about is on page 20 in the civil filing. I have not pulled the
Melody
civil
keeping
filing.
me straight tonight. Thank you, Melody. Keep fact checking.
Melody's solid. She's on my team.
I was going to say, Melody's at the keyboard ready to pounce, girl.
But in such a respectful way. Like, I get it. Please, we want to make sure we are being accurate here.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like we've yapped a while about it. My brain is starting to wear out, and I'm out of wine. So,
oh Lord, I'd be asleep.
Let's continue this. But actually, I would like to continue this about a different topic next week. That I don't want to mention on the live, just in case you guys are not willing, but it would be a different topic that is very a hot topic. Can I put it that way?
I don't know. I don't know what it is. I'm concerned.
It's y'all show. I'm just here, so whatever. y'all want to discuss, we'll discuss.
Well, and
I
so
just
viewers, so they know, Derek has agreed. We're going to go ahead and say he's agreed for the foreseeable future. But
Yeah.
we would love to get together once a week, and kind of do breakdowns. And Derek, like, I want you. It might be our show, but like, you cover a lot of topics that like we don't touch on. That I think they're semi-local to your area. We are all about transparency and accountability across Alabama. So if you ever have a story or a case that you're following, please. We can make an itinerary, a schedule in our text about things that we want to talk
No,
about.
and I've got. I'm not going to mention the case on live, but I'm going to talk to you all about it. I would like for y'all to. I think y'all would both be interested. I think it would be a good one for us to, instead of me just putting it out by myself, I'd prefer for y'all to be a part of it too. It's a really big. You'll see. It could really make a big splash, and it probably will. But I think y'all find it interesting. But yeah, I'm gonna run that by y'all.
So I just sent you. I don't know if you guys can see this. We have a studio chat and then we have a live chat. So I put it in the studio chat.
I got your text message.
Okay. We're still having to figure this out, but
I mean, that's a loaded topic. I don't know if you have any specifics on which you would like to discuss within that realm.
what I've been following.
There's so much. Wait, like, I mean, like something recent? Like I'm tired, Neely.
Okay, well, let me just put it this way. I'm going to come on live regardless of if the two of you would like to.
You
Okay.
know, I'll join. I'm just like, well, what part are we covering?
So there's so much to it. I'm gonna plug us here for a second, and just so you guys know, I'm gonna put our links up on the screen before we leave here tonight. But what I would like to do is to go over. I get a lot of questions about the stuff that is happening in Orange Beach, and Murder Creek Media has started a series called Tony Crony, where we give the backstory on what it has led up to the chaos with Orange Beach, basically.
Today,
But
yeah.
yes, and part of that is following land deals. And I promise that all of it is going to come full circle. It is going to be, I'm going to wrap it up for you in a nice pink bow or black bow, I guess I should say.
All I
Not
know
as
is my
tacky as
birthday
the
might be real interesting this year. October 7th is just loaded with lots of fun things to come.
Yeah. So if you two are willing, I'd like to hop on. I want to break down the land deals specifically at first. I get a lot of criticism on the land deals. I'd like to break them down. I'd like to show the records that I have from the records request and how I came about the information that I came about. And then I would like to go into things that we've already covered previously, what we've covered in the Tony Crony series. I would like to go into the Danny Williams case a bit. You know, I know we talked about Danny Williams a little bit, Derek, and I would also like to go into everything that happened with Cece and what led up to her lawsuit, Cece Moreno. And I would like to invite Cece on the show when we do that. And she's welcome to come anytime, but you get what I'm saying. Anyway, it is multifaceted. And believe it or not, Derek's favorite creator of all time leaks into this also with the Stapletons. And so I would like to go over that and to bring it all full circle and tie it up with a little bow. And what better way to do it than with you guys, if you're
And I think
willing.
the timing is impeccable, really. I think, I don't know, September, October, I just think that it's a good time to give people a refresher, get them caught up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I get so much criticism, right? I literally get people that will like stop me at a gas station and will say something to me. let me rephrase this. Nobody ever gives me direct criticism to my face. Okay. What they will give me is um, a joke that is really meant as a serious comment, but they don't have the balls to just say it to me. Okay. And so what I get a lot of times is, well, how are you coming about this? You're just seeing all this as speculation or whatever. The reason that I would like to do it in this format we're sharing here is because it is easy for me to show you the documentation surrounding it, um, because all of it is based on records that we have found, that we have, and I would like to show that those exist. And what we have done as part of our Tony Crony series that we are still working on publishing is linking all of those documents for everyone to see, because I don't ever want somebody to come and say, well, you know where's all this coming from? You're reading into this or something. Well, no, I'm not. It's in black and white. You can read it for yourself. And then at that point, if you choose not to believe it or you choose to interpret it a different way, that's on you. It's not on me.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I'm down for it. I love land deals. That's my jam.
yes.
I'm all on board.
Awesome. Okay, well, before we end this tonight, I'm going to share a screen real quick. I just want you guys to see. In case you don't know, Murder Creek Media is a fully volunteer organization. We really don't make any money from it. And so a lot of the research that we're doing is using our own funds or some very small donations that we get. If you would like to support us in any capacity, you can go to murdercreekmedia.com/donate or click the support tab on our website. You will see our link to our affiliates that we have, and there are also direct links to donate. Also, if you would like to support Derek, there's other ways I'm sure Derek would appreciate you to support him by following him on any of his channels. But you can go to his website at agentdbaker.com. He also has a donate button, and podcast courses and all type of things. So there are many, many ways that you can support all of us should you choose to, and we would really appreciate that, because we would like to continue bringing you this content, but unfortunately it it is very time consuming, and it is definitely a financial burden at times. So, all right. So, what do you think?
What you think, Derek? What you think?
I'm enjoying this. I've really enjoyed tonight. It's a lot better than when it's just me sitting up here talking forever. But I've really enjoyed tonight. I mean, I truly have, and looking forward to a lot more. And the topic for next week sounds very interesting, for sure.
I've had a lot of people asking me about it. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten a DM or an email or a text message and saying, "Hey, when is chapter 3 dropping for Tony Crony?" The reason that chapter 3 hasn't dropped yet is because I was looking for something else to add into it, and I've been at work. So I haven't been able to come into it, but I'm hoping to get that done sometime, maybe tomorrow, maybe in the next couple of days, but maybe us talking about it in a series and explaining these things out will actually help a little bit more than just doing our written series. So stay tuned.
I love following the money. That will lead you to exactly where you need to go every time.
It's so fun. It's so fun. It's like, oh, there's receipts. What I thought was right. I can prove it and back it up now.
Hey, I will tell you though, following this, and I told Whitney this, there have been times that I looked at something and I was genuinely shocked to figure out people that were connected. And then to be like, okay, wow, all of this that I knew beforehand, all of that makes sense. And there are people that know a lot of information about these things that are terrified to speak up. Terrified. I mean, these people, they own businesses, they have children in the school systems, they are employees of the city, they have
they're fearful not just for their reputation, but like for their life. Like, I'm just putting out there, those are their feelings, not mine. But like, that's how deep it goes.
Yeah, I mean, we get that all the time. I can't tell you how many times we've been out, especially me and Whitney together, and somebody has either recognized us or, um, how many people will send us a message and be like, "Hey, thank you. Like, I can't support you publicly, but I just wanna let you know, keep going. Thank you for what you're doing." And I'm like, "Man, I didn't think that just following public records was, like, some brave thing, but apparently it is." So, um,
It's
I guess
speaking
we will
about it.
continue to do that.
Following it is not, what takes some guts. It's actually speaking about it and talking about what is unethical, what is just morally wrong.
That's been one of the most shocking things to me since I've started since I've started podcasting and content creation, is the amount of people that message me that want to speak out and that have really good information, but they're legit afraid to. I mean, just like you said, some because they don't want to lose their way of living. They don't want to lose their job or their career or whatever because it would cost them that. And there are a lot that are legit. Again, whether they should be or not, I don't know, but there are a lot that are truly scared for their lives. I mean, I've had conversations with people on the phone that I could tell they are truly scared for their lives and telling me how much they appreciate me for something I didn't even realize I was talking about. Like I didn't think it was that serious or anything. There are a lot of people out there that want to speak out about a lot of things, and they're not going to because of one reason or the other. Uh, that's one of the driving forces for me that keeps me going is all constantly getting those messages from people.
Mhm.
There's so many, like we say, we being a voice for the voiceless. There are a lot of them out there.
There's so many.
Whitney, we joke all the time because, for the record, right here on live, and this will continue to, we publish our episodes after the fact. I would never hurt myself or someone that I love. And I can assure you that those that love me would not hurt themselves or hurt me. So I want to put that out there because I think it's important that people understand that there are things that have I gotten threats since starting this? Absolutely.
Mhm.
100% documented. Ask Whitney. She was the one that called me and told me about it initially, and then I had other sources that told me, and I was like, "Oh, okay. So we want to play this game."
It
Well, guess
turned
what?
Haley's life upside down. I'm not going to talk about what it is or what it's in relation to, but like, this was not that long ago. And I mean, I'm just being honest. Like, so people know, like, there was a part of your life that got turned upside down
Yes.
hugely.
Yes.
And it was a
100%
direct,
yes.
like counterattack, from maybe names that we've mentioned tonight. Like, I mean, like, we know exactly where it came from, who was putting out the threat. So I'll let your minds wander with that. Yeah, I mean, I haven't, since I think it was in November was the last time I put out my last public statement about, I am happy. I have plans, in the next 6 months to go, on vacation with my kids and things like that. I am healthy. I have no intentions of hurting myself. And when I say that, there is so much that we know that we have not talked about, and I'm not saying it's just Orange Beach related. But I'm sitting on a lot. I know Neely's sitting on a lot, but like, I'm sitting on some things that like I'm not going public about yet because like it is just simply for safety of myself and my family. So yeah, the threat is real.
When the bow gets placed at the end of the series, people are going to be in disbelief at how big it gets and what encompasses the story.
What is all really
I'll put it
inside
that
the
way.
ecosystem? Yeah.
And that it's not speculation. Like it's, you know, multiple verified sources over years of research. I don't think people realize that either, is that this isn't just like a in the last couple of months or something. These are things that literally have had years and years of research and record pulling. It just so happened that that Cece came along, and thank God she did, because she was really the catalyst to, you know, be being a wrecking
Derek, I don't
ball.
know if you know this, but like Neely had been like publicly speaking out, and she ran into, I think that I had a bit more traction when I started speaking out about like some of the smaller issues that like I first started speaking out about. And I say smaller, but like they're a big deal. They were involved our school system, our children. But I think that you faced far more dissent early on in your battle, right? But like these are some of the things and some of the same networks that like you had been calling out for a long time, and people were just I think it goes back to that fear piece, right? Like so many people being scared. You had far less people that were willing to get behind you. It was just kind of like, oh, Neely's talking again. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to, get involved with that or whatever. And so like with Cece becoming like that catalyst, now it's like, Neely says all the time, she's like about different things people will post or just shit going on. And she's like, I've been saying it for years. I'm like, I know, dude. I'm like, but now people feel a little bit more safety, I think, in coming out and rallying behind this. It's not a cause, but you know what I mean.
It is a
There's
cause,
safety in
though, because
numbers.
it's anti-cronyism, first of all.
That is a
Um,
cause.
but, also, like, and your experience may be different than mine, and yours may also be too, Derek. I don't get a lot of support publicly at all, like, rarely ever. I have a handful of people who really will back me up publicly on that, but there are many that will do it privately, and I think a lot of that is the fear, you know, of coming forward or saying something in because we already know that retaliation is a big thing. I know because they tried to do it to me. Well, guess what? Checkmate, buddy. You wanna
Absolutely.
play? I'll play with you.
And these people will try to take you down, and they will do anything and try everything. Don't underestimate what some of these crazy people will do to try to shut any of us up on
Oh,
a lot of things
absolutely.
that we talk about. It is real. I mean, that's something I've dealt with from the very beginning. The first person I started calling out, the attacks nonstop. They will, the length they will go to are shocking, and just don't underestimate what they will do. And they will try to turn everyone against you, and they won't stop until they do. I'm trying to say something without saying specific.
I have thoughts in my head, like things that have happened to me
things.
that I haven't been public about yet. Neely, some of them. Like no, you're not joking. And I don't want to I don't like to give the enemy any power. So I don't like to bring some of those things up. And I think that like there will be a time and a place when I'll come forward about it. But like, yeah, that's the other part of this is people have no idea like the attacks that like we don't talk about. Like if you want to follow me around town or whatever and like make it very obvious that like you've put surveillance on me in this like tiny little town in Alabama I live in, like I'll talk about that. Sure. I'll talk about that because it keeps me safe talking about that. But like some of the other attacks that I face, like even a couple of things like involving my kids, like for their safety, for my safety, like I'm not going to talk about it yet. And I'm also not going to give them the power to speak about it yet. But yeah, like I can only imagine what you face that you have not probably talked about publicly. I know things Neely has faced that she's not talked about publicly. So
There's a lot. I mean,
yeah,
there's a ton, and that's the same way I look at it. Like, I'm not going to let them control me. They're not, and that's the thing I want to continue to make clear. You're not going to shut me up. I don't care what length you go to. Like,
I don't know how. Like, I don't know how. It's
So
just not in me. It's
you're
just
not
not in
going
me
to
to
shut me
up.
up. And the more attacks I get, the more it makes me dig in, and the more I
I was
realize
just
I'm
about to say
doing
that.
what needs to be done.
I'll tell you what, especially when I post about these land deals, I can always tell who is going to be involved next based on how they respond. It never freaking fails. If they comment and they say something about me in a negative way, the very next land deal I pull, well, guess whose name is on it, buddy? It never fails. So when people start coming after you, first of all, there are people in your corner that other people don't realize are in your corner because they don't support you publicly, but they're helping you privately. So there are things that are said that get back to me, or things that happen that get back to me like within seconds, right? So you never know. But also, I'm like you, Derek. The second you start coming after me, well, guess what? Now the magnifying glass comes on you, and it never fails. There's something there. It
That's how you
never
know that you're on
fails.
target. Like, that's how you know
Yep.
you're on target. They would be better off to just shut up. Really, just
Yeah.
hide.
There's definitely some people that I wouldn't be talking half as much as I do about them, but they tried to shut me up by discrediting me. I mean, all kinds of stuff. Therefore, it makes me, I mean, again, it's going to do the opposite to me. And kind of what Neely was saying, there's people in your corner that nobody else knows about. There's also people that
Oh, Whitney's got some good sources that
there's also
people don't
people that
realize.
think there's also people that act like they're in your corner, and they don't think you're dumb enough. They don't think you're smart enough to realize they're really not.
And I'm keeping
Just
you
because you
close,
don't
baby,
let them
because I know
go
what you're doing.
or let them know. And something I just faced this week. Some people that I 100% thought were in my corner, no doubt, had me fooled. And it's this
Same.
business is, it's crazy, and the roller coaster, and like I've told my team numerous times, this is, and I'm not saying this for people to feel sorry for me. Do not feel sorry for me. I love my life. I love what I'm doing, but this is the loneliest job I've ever had. It's crazy. And because there's so many people that come at you, and the only reason they are pretending to be your friend is because they want something. It's so rare now for someone to try to befriend me and within a day me not realize what they're wanting. Not that they're wanting to help, but they're wanting something in it. For them, they will use you.
I've been in situations where
It's crazy.
They've been sent in. You know what I mean? Like, they've been sent in by the ops to gather intel. And and I think I definitely my circle does not grow like it once used to. I have to be very selective about who I let in. It doesn't mean like I'm a very friendly person. Like, I work in the public, right? Like, I'm not in hiding and suspicious of everybody, but I keep my circle small. And it's funny, Neely said, like, I have a lot of really good sources. I do. My husband had made my husband's like my biggest supporter. He loves this stuff. But he made a Facebook post a couple months ago, and he just calls it like it is, and he's like, y'all need to watch out, Whitney's got sources everywhere, like your wife, your mother, your brother, you never know who's in her DMs and her phone, so like watch yourself. And like, and he's so right.
Sometimes
I've
Whitney will
I've
tell me
been
something
complete.
that comes from a source, and I'll be like, and she does not tell me the source, but I'm like, how did you get this? And she'll be like, well, here's kind of how I know. And so I'll have like sort of an idea where the source comes from. And I'm like, how are you getting these sources? Like, it just blows my mind.
I think it's my face. I think I just have a very trusting face.
I've been so shocked at times with certain people that's become a source for me. I mean, blown out of my seat, like can't believe it. And obviously they will always stay anonymous, and this is something I don't repeat to anybody. If I could though, wow, there would be people going, oh my God. Because again, some of them shock me. But you also at the same time, like Whitney said, you have to be so stinking careful about who you trust and who you let in, because we know my team we know for a fact there's been people literally paid by another creator to come at me to try to get me at different angles. Like, we know that. That's crazy for me to think about, that somebody's sitting there and wants to take me down that bad that they pull
What a
money
waste
out
of
their
money.
pocket.
But again,
What an
that's how you know
absolute
you're on the
loser.
target.
Like,
That's how you know.
That's
That's
crazy,
how you
but
know.
it happens. It happens. It's a strange world. It is, but you absolutely have to keep your circle very small. I learned that very early on in this, and again, it gets very. I mean, I struggle with it at times. I'm not going to lie. When there's people that I truly think are in this for the good reasons, and that I start looking at as true friends, and then boom, wow, they weren't my friend at all. It sucks at times, for sure.
There's a character in the Tony Crony story that my discernment was slipping a little bit, and
Oh yeah, and I can't wait to freaking talk about it too.
No, when we can, and I hold space for the friendship I had with that person before, and I know that I think, my opinion only, you know what I mean? I think that like their trauma probably, and things that were going on in their life maybe led them astray and led them to do things that maybe like they were willing to, take a check for, that were just not ethically sound or right. But I hold space for that individual. Like, I have empathy for them. But I have publicly come out finally. I kind of danced around it, Neely, for a while because this person openly attacks you. And I had a friendship with this person before I knew Neely, and I thought I knew this person well. And a couple things happened, and I kind of started retreating a little bit. And I finally couldn't be quiet anymore. And like, I was very respectful, I think, in what I've said about them or to them publicly. But like, it's like, I hold space for you and who I know you to be. And like, and I think that there are some redeeming qualities about you, but like what you're doing right now is like not okay at all. Like, it's just not. So it's just interesting. Yeah, it's a weird world, that's for sure.
Well, I can't wait to talk about that next week. But for now, I can't wait to go put my affirmations on and go to bed. So
your affirmations. Would you put a little in there for me too? I'm so tired. I'm not gonna have time. Because you just like say some affirmations for me out loud?
Yes. So once again, if you'd like to support us, please do. I'm trying to put it up on the screen here.
Telling the truth, don't pay nothing. And I ain't trying to be rich. I just want to keep the lights on and do good in the world. That's all.
All right. So you can find ways to support us at murdercreekmedia.com/donate. And you can find ways to support Derek at agentdbaker.com. Follow us on all our socials, all the good things.
Support Neely and Whitney before you do me. I'm not trying to be like that guy or whatever, but I truly mean that at this point.
Derek don't need it, is what he's saying.
No, I do, but I just want everyone to we need these two to be doing this full time.
Oh, we would
Yeah.
love to. We're
Like,
working
that's
to
what I mean,
listen to me
it
when I
would
say
really
this.
make a big difference for sure.
Listen to me when I say this. It is going to happen. Like, you're seeing us right now, and we have a smaller platform, but trust that it is not gonna be that way for long. We are working behind the scenes to make it happen. Like, we are doing so much work right now. Just so people are aware, we're running a full team of people, almost 30 people that are helping us. We are taking on multiple cases, doing severe deep dives into these cases. We're also getting information about other cases that were not working. So, information that comes to us about like things that are happening across the state. So we're kind of having to follow those leads. We're
My
working on
inbox is so full. I can't even clear it. Like there's so much.
Yes, and on top of that, we're working actual real jobs,
And
okay?
I
So
have 3 children under the age of 8 and they're all boys. So like my life is chaos.
yes, yes.
Wow.
And, I have a child too, right? And so
Yes.
it is so much. So anything is really appreciated. Just following us, sharing it. Like even if people can't donate financially, I totally understand that. But engaging with us, sharing our stuff, helping us make those network connections. I know that we would appreciate it. Derek, I know you'd appreciate it too. So any type of support is uh appreciated. Kay has asked when and time next week before y'all say goodnight. Kay, we are planning to do this every Thursday night at 9 Central. We have
If
our
everyone's
murder.
technology is working, we'll be here at 9.
Yes. We have our team meetings at 8 o'clock. So we are actually ending our team meetings a little early so that we can make sure and be on at 9 o'clock. But Thursdays at 9 are currently working for us. Whether that changes in the future, we don't know. We'll get it all sorted out, and hopefully, we will extend to other platforms by next week. We were
And that is so
successful.
sweet of you to ask, like that you care and that you plan to be here. Thank you for asking. We'll
Yes.
be on.
Yeah, so we will be back Thursday at 9. We're planning to be on Facebook, YouTube, hopefully TikTok and Twitch. So, thank you for
I'm glad you
joining
can
us.
handle all that. I just can't. Like I'm just like I can't.
Well, I
So
do have a
overwhelmed by
degree in
life.
computer
You just tell me
science.
where to
So,
log in and I'll be there. So
yes, Kay, it will be on Facebook also, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and hopefully TikTok.
and Neely, where are you streaming from on Facebook? Is this coming from Murder Creek Media, your Facebook? Like, am I just finding it in the group
Okay,
or the
so the
event?
way I had to set it up was through an event. So I think I can set it up as a personal event and a page event. I think we can do multiple events and stream to the same thing. We are going to test it. So you may see a whole lot more, but it'll be somewhere on Facebook, okay? And
I
it
just
will
can't
be
find the Facebook comments. Like I haven't been able to. Oh,
It's on
lies. There's
Neely's
95
page.
on this one.
The live comments on Facebook is on Neely's profile. Like
I finally just found it.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
so we'll get all that sorted out. But just stay tuned to our socials. We'll tell you where to find it, and we'll put it on the website too. Kay said I'm not missing OBA. I have a feeling many people will not miss OBA. So we will go ahead and create an event for that one too.
Very popular
But
topic right now.
yeah, I have a
It's a
feeling it's
mess.
only going to get more interesting. All
Well,
right.
Derek, I hope you have a great weekend, Neely. I talk to you every day, so I'll talk to you in the morning.
Okay. Well, thank you again, Derek.
Yes,
Thank
thank
y'all. I
you.
really appreciate it, and I've enjoyed it. Like I said,
Well, we will see you next Thursday
I had
at
fun too.
9
Thank you.
Central.
All
Bye.
right. Bye.
All right, don't hang up.